inner Kronk here. Hello, everyone. Welcome in.
Hello.
I'm Jess. It's Monday, and we are having a special morning edition here on the West Coast of the United States of Community Connections. And look, all of my wonderful co-hosts are here. Abby is here, my lovely potato. She is here.
Yay! Hi, everybody.
And Joe, aka Phantom Meeple, is here.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here on this wonderful Monday morning. And I'm really excited that we got Rodney Smith's chair to guest with us.
I know.
Yeah, spoiler alert, it's not Rodney, it's just the chair.
It's just the chair.
It's just the chair. Everyone's like, wait, what?
That is an empty seat. Not
that
Rodney
is an empty seat. We're actually going to be interviewing the little meeples behind there, so
yes,
it's going to be kind of a one-sided conversation, unfortunately.
Yep.
But we're here. We're here. So let's say hi to folks in the chat, friends, before we get started with our lovely guest here. We've got James Brazil. Now it's a stream. We can finally start. Jen Cam is
that
here.
Is true.
Hello. Quaid Rain, good morning. Gus or not. And Dutch Yoda. Eva is here. Anyone else that's lurking and working, or just plain old lurking, or just plain old working. It's the iconic Watch It Played chair. Yes.
Yes. Again, super excited. It was so hard to get the chair as a guest.
It was so hard. I mean, we had to pull some strings. We had to ask for import paperwork, because it's being in a totally different country. It was quite difficult. It was quite difficult.
It was.
But okay. All right. Enough banter, enough play. Without further ado, friends, you know him as the man behind Watch It Played and Collective. There. It is the Rodney Smith.
Hey! It totally worked.
Here's the thing about this introduction that has me really concerned. As I was down there on the chair giggling at everything you guys were saying, I was realizing, what if the chair's a better guest than I end up being? It's like, can we just have the chair back?
Oh, you have a lot to live up to now, Rodney.
I do. Unbelievable. Oh, hey, look, let me turn on the light back here. Let's get the warm cozy. This is a cozy chat, you said.
It
right?
is.
So,
yeah, it is.
Let's get cozy.
It is.
There we go.
Do you have a beverage of choice, Rodney, for when you want to get cozy?
Well, you know what? Actually, it's interesting you asked that. I just have some water with me. But you know what I've been doing lately? This is a recent thing. Growing up, I never was a coffee drinker. We just didn't have coffee in the house. My mother went through this phase of warm drinks that when I was, my farthest back memory is her having tea.
Okay.
Then she went to Postum. Have you ever heard of Postum
No.
before? Postum is I think, maybe it's a caffeine style, free type of tea. Anyway, she just kept downgrading to the point where she would just have then it was warm milk, and now then it's just warm water. It just got more and more diluted. So I was never someone who grew up around a lot of caffeinated drinks and things like that.
Okay.
And recently, I was traveling. We took a little vacation with the family, and we were in Italy. And we had a tour guide for the day, and they took us. He said, "Do you want to have the best coffee in the world?" And I'm not a coffee drinker, but I'm like, well, if it's the best coffee in the world, why wouldn't I want to try the best? So we took me to this little cafe, and it was transformative. It was wow, this is incredible coffee. This is what coffee's like, because I've had coffee before, but it's something I'll drink socially, but not really be into. Anyway, I've been, lately trying to figure out how to recreate that experience I had.
Okay.
So this morning, I bought so I have a mocha pot now. I've been brewing up some coffee in the morning, experimenting with different things, but it's not quite been, very good.
Okay.
And that could be user error on my part, but I've been experimenting with different things. My wife's like, why don't you go down to the local coffee shop and get some fresh ground coffee there and see if that makes a difference? And oh my goodness, this morning, I finally made a little espresso of coffee that I thought was pretty good. And I have to give it to the freshly ground coffee beans. So that's a long way of saying it. That's a kind of a recent little hobby, I guess I've been
nice.
Is sort of trying to get into coffee a little bit. How about yourselves?
Awesome.
Are you all coffee drinkers, tea drinkers?
Definitely coffee.
Yeah, they're both coffee. I'm tea. I have to do tea just straight black maybe with some honey, but I don't do the tea and cream like our English friends overseas.
Right.
But yeah, tea has always been the thing. I love the smell of coffee.
Right.
I just can't. I don't know. For me, it gives me a different effect in the caffeine content, in that I get really, really excited and really, really hyper and really, really energetic, and then I just crash.
Right.
Whereas with tea, it's kind of like a slow burn, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
I've always been a little nervous. I think part of the thing that steered me away from coffee too was this sense of, I have friends, maybe some of you here know something of this, where it's like, I can't get started in the morning until I've had my coffee. And I never wanted to necessarily have, if I don't have coffee, I can't get started in the morning. I was always a little nervous about that. What if I don't have coffee near me? How am I going to get started in the morning?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think I'm hoping now it's far enough into my lifespan that I won't get to that point where it's just something I just kind of enjoy socially, or like enjoy making a cup, but it won't be like I have to have it in the morning to get going.
That
we'll
makes
see,
sense.
I guess.
Hello, Silver Metal Tavern. He says, I was waiting for coffee beans from cat droppings, which is a real thing and apparently really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Kopi Luwak, I think it's called.
I think so, yeah.
What?
Yeah, I think it's from Sumatra or something like that. But yeah, there's these wild cats that eat coffee beans. They process through their system, and then people harvest them, and it's supposed to be like one of the most like bougie gourmet coffees in the world, and it's supposed to taste really good.
Mm-hmm.
I will choose pass.
I think I just started my journey, so that's a long way down. I don't have to worry about that. That's probably a long ways away from where I'm going.
We got your new list of videos to record, Rodney. Is your coffee journey now?
Okay. Yeah, I saw someone post here. Ryan saying, "Watch it brood."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there you go. This little side project for you.
Yeah, I have been watching some different coffee YouTube channels, and there is some really nice footage. You know, when you see coffee percolating and bubbling up through, and it certainly makes for some nice B-roll. That's for sure. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Hello, Is That Right Gaming, and welcome in to the new followers.
Hello, welcome in, everybody.
Hello.
Silver Metal says, we have them in LA, Rodney, so I can ship some. Well, Rodney's on the other side of the country.
The cat poop beans? Is that
I guess. I don't know. Because he might just send you some cat poop in the mail. I don't know.
I get a weird phone call from customs, I think, on the day that happens.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mr. Smith, would you report to the customs office, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have some questions.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Too funny. Hello, Is That Right Gaming? Hello. They say, wait, isn't it illegal to ship feces? I think so.
So fun fact, it is not illegal to ship feces, and don't ask me how I know that, but it is not.
That was the follow-up question. Joe, you can't just go and don't ask me.
Guys, don't ask,
okay.
But...
All right, I will answer the question. So this was many years ago, before I kind of wrote off Cards Against Humanity. But one year for Black Friday, they had a special, and I apologize to the French, but they had a Black Friday special that if you paid them $6, they would send you bullshit.
Oh, I remember this.
The year before, they had a pack of cards that was themed to everything ridiculous. But the year later, they're like, send us $6 and we'll send you this BS. So sure enough, they shipped people in a little nice, great looking tiny black box, and inside it was petrified cow poop.
Oh
so it is
gosh.
100% not illegal to ship feces because people ask that question.
Wow. The more you know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I feel
there we go.
learning a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm learning a lot here.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't expect to learn. Yes, Quaid mentioned in the chat about James Hoffman on YouTube. Yeah, that's exactly. I've been following, reading. That's what you do on YouTube. You read things, don't you?
Yep.
I've been watching a number of James Hoffman's videos. They've been helpful.
Very cool.
Yes, dried, James, not petrified. That's what I meant.
Yeah. Yes. That's not what I thought I would learn today, says Jen Kim.
No.
Hello.
You never know what you'll learn here.
No.
That's the joys of it.
Random phantom factoids. There you go.
Yes.
No one warned me.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be fantastic. This conversation is already going in a fantastic direction, and we have just gotten started. So as we continue, Rodney, I will ask you an opening original question. What are your identifiers? Meaning, what are your pronouns, and how would you describe what you do in the board gaming space?
Sure. I prefer he, him. And how do I describe what I do? Well, I mean, on the face of it, I run the Watch It Played YouTube channel, and the channel has a focus on teaching games, helping people learn how to play games. Maybe you've got that new game and you're like, oh, this rule book, I'm having some trouble with it, or I maybe read through the rule book and I need some confirmation that I'm understanding things correctly. We try to make tutorial videos that are comprehensive, but hopefully as fun and engaging as a huge info dump can be. And then in addition to that, we have a number of other videos on the channel that have to do with, trying to help people discover games as well. So we have some top 10 videos. We have a news series as well, talking about news in the industry. Questions and answers, which just went live today with Matthew Jude, answering people's burning board game questions. And we have some live shows as well on Twitch, which, so the whole team, there's me, there's Chaz, there's Matthew, there's Paul, there's Monique and Naveen. We have gameplays as well, where we actually play the games through. And this has sort of been like a 11 years now process.
That is fantastic. So, friends, if you're just new to the Community Connections streams, what we like to do with the three of us, myself, Joe, and Abby, we do kind of a round robin of asking questions of our guest. If you have any questions in the chat, please feel free to pop them into the chat, and we'll be more than happy to ask them on your behalf. And then Rodney has full rights to either answer them if he wants to, or say, nah, pass. And then we'll just interview, we'll ask the chair instead.
Right, I'll disappear under the table and the chair can answer. Right,
yes, exactly.
That's true. You've got a partner in crime there, Rodney, so it works out.
Yeah. So, we'll just be doing this for a little while, and then we'll have a special segment towards the latter part of the stream, which Rodney doesn't know about. It's going to be
Oh, that's right. We didn't tell him. Oh, this is going to be great.
This is going to be telling the catch him off guard. It's going to be so fun. So fun.
I love it.
So there we go, friends. We'll just continue on here. But like I said, if you have any questions for Rodney, please feel free to pop them in the chat. All right, Abby Potato, you're up.
So how did you get into board gaming?
Ooh, well, I mean, when I was really young, like I had an older brother and sister. I guess I still have an older brother and sister. It wasn't just when I was young. 16 years. My brother is 16 years older than I am. So they were my brother especially was into games and board games and that. So we played when I was young, and I always enjoyed that as a family activity. I think when I caught the bug, I guess myself, I would say truly was probably, I got this catalog for Avalon Hill war games, and I saw in there a game that said it had an 80-page rule book and could play like, I think on BGG it says this too, like 20 to 2,000 hours is how long it takes to play, something ridiculous. And rather than go run screaming the other direction, I went like, what could this be? This sounds fascinating. Like, what could require 80 pages of rules? What is this trying to simulate? Like, what is this trying to be? And that was sort of like my first game outside of like the mass market stuff. Like, I went to my parents, I begged them to like pay half because it was more expensive than I could afford, at that point. It was like, I forget how much it was back then. It was probably $80 Canadian or something. And but the thing is, of course, I couldn't find anyone in my area who wanted to play a game like that. So shortly after that, I discovered some solo games, and then it was off to the races. And then like Magic, then I kind of like got away from it. Then Magic the Gathering came out, and I fell into that. And then I had a young family, and so I got away from board gaming just because life was busy with other things, other priorities. And I think it was Carcassonne was the board game that kind of brought me back in to the hobby. I discovered that, started playing it, thought it was fantastic. And I think the game after that would have been Arkham Horror, the board game. And I discovered Board Game Geek, and I discovered there's podcasts, and I discovered there's YouTube. Like, I just realized, there's so much going on in the board game space that I'm unaware of. I think a lot of people still kind of experience that. You're used to the Monopoly and the Risk and the Scrabble and those games on the shelf, and then you realize, there's like thousands of other games besides these. Mm-hmm. And when you kind of uncover that, right, it can be, if you're excited about the hobby, excited about board games, all those possibilities are very exciting, right? And that's kind of, I think I got very excited by that. I got excited by the enjoyment other people were having in the hobby space, sort of seeing it from afar. Because I lived in a community that I wouldn't say had a lot of like gamers near me. So it was exciting to sort of make those connections. Like the channel here, community connections, like making those kind of community connections through the internet was a big boon for me, really.
Nice. Very nice. Joe, what you got?
Okay. As far as specifically into board gaming, do you prefer competitive or co-op games?
Huh. I think maybe, I don't know if this is skirting it, but it so much just depends on who I'm playing with. Like if I try to be, when I can be, a bit of a chameleon gamer. In other words, like, what is it you want to do? Because I feel like my tastes are very broad. I enjoy a competitive game, but I don't if I sense the other person at the table isn't enjoying the competitive edge of it, And then I'm like, oh, now I'm not having fun because you're not having fun, Like, I wish we were playing a competitive game now. But then I know some people who they do not like a cooperative game. They don't want the collaborative play. They want to be doing their own thing. And so I'll typically, in those cases, want to do something competitive. But I don't know that I necessarily steer one way over the other. I probably would have said at one point in time competitive, because I perceived that there were more competitive games. But now there's so many cooperative games that are really good and do interesting things that I would probably say it's a dead heat, which I'm not trying to skirt the issue. But I mean, I guess if you said you must pick one, I'd probably go competitive.
Okay.
But I just feel like there's just so much, like, there's so many great options in competitive and cooperative games that finding the thing that the other person wants to play, I mean, it is a luxury to have so many games to pick from. Like, I'm looking at the back behind you there, Joe, and I just see like there's a whole pile of games there. Like that's a year's worth of game playing right there.
Oh yeah, and it
right? Like
it goes like another 10 feet that way. Like our entire living room wall is just board game shelving, and
right.
Yeah, we could probably open up a small shop with as many as we have.
Would you say the crew here like leans competitive or cooperative?
I want to say it's a mixed bag. Like me personally, I love a good competitive game. Cooperative games, again, I would have to agree with you. Depends on who you play with, but there's some great co-op games out there. Like Horrified comes to mind. It's probably one of my favorites.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think, do I see Mansions of Madness on the shelf behind you? I feel like
it's down there.
It's one of my favorite cooperative games. I mean, there's a lot of nostalgia tied up in that for me because the first edition was the first game I featured on the channel, so it's kind of like
I'm not kidding.
Of the channel was Mansions of Madness first edition, and I thought the second edition, just was a great evolution of that original game. So yeah, I enjoy games that tell a story. I like to feel like I'm a character in a story, and that game certainly allows for that too, which is fun.
Yeah, I think for me, I do enjoy. It depends on like what game I'm playing, but I do enjoy my hand in a co-op game. Like one of my top gaming experiences was the Pandemic Legacy series.
Yes. Oh, those are fantastic. Yeah.
Because you're creating memories in that, like that's just outside of just regular gameplay, So. Yeah, and I know it sounds a little cliche, but I actually played Pandemic Legacy Season 2 while in, like, the heart of the pandemic.
Right.
So that was kind of, like, weird, but, like, also really exciting because you're like, I'm actually experiencing what this game is showing, like, this weird kind of Inception thing. But, yeah.
Yeah, I've played all the Pandemic Legacy series is one of the few campaigns that I've played all the way through, except for the most recent one. I haven't played that all the way through yet.
Okay.
I haven't started it because, once you start, I feel like I'll want to know that I can continue it on a regular basis.
Yes.
The schedule doesn't allow quite right now, but it's certainly one I'm excited to play. I did a tutorial video for it, and it seemed like it had some really interesting evolutions on even the original Legacy games.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Jen Cam says, as a solo board gamer that started during the pandemic, I do not think I would be here now if the Watch It Play team hadn't taught me the rules to so many games.
Oh, Jen, that's really, really nice to hear. It really does go back to what I was saying earlier when I was getting sort of finding my passion again for the hobby. I was so thankful for all the other people who just were so excited about the hobby, they just had to talk about it. And I had to pick up a camera or a microphone and do a podcast or do a video series because it got me more and more excited about the hobby. I think understandably there is some pushback on what can be the perceived hype machine of the hobby, but I really do enjoy hearing other people's excitement about something they're playing and that they're enjoying. Like that is infectious, and it can be exciting and it gives you that desire to try to experience that same thing that they're feeling. I know that when it's a good feeling when you are excited about something, you share it with somebody, and they have the same experience, right?
Mhm.
And not everyone's going to have the same experience. Obviously, we all have different tastes, but when you make those connections and a game really works that you recommended, oh, isn't it a good feeling? When you bring a game to somebody and they really enjoy it the way you're enjoying it, like it's one of the best things, I think, inside of the hobby part of it anyway.
Yeah. Agreed. And I will also say too, along with Jen, my first interaction with you, Rodney, was back in the pre-pandemic times, whenever that was.
Times.
I don't know, whenever that was. But I remember meeting you at Gen Con, and it was just like, we were just walking the exhibit halls. It was me and T. And they were like, oh, let's just, wander the halls. And like, oh, there's Rodney. Do you want to go say hi? Like nonchalantly. And I was like, what? Like, actually? Like, I was like processing, like, cannot compute what is happening. But I just remember you genuinely like stopped and was like, hi, I'm Rodney. Like, what's your name? And what do you do? And you just like invested like those 3 minutes of time just to like, hi. And I'm like, it just blew my mind just to see like who you are on screen is exactly like who you are in real life. And that was just really, really like heartwarming for me. So to hear somebody like Jen say that, like, this is like helped her get into the hobby, I was just like, I totally feel that the same way. So,
well, I tell you, like me and the chair here are blushing. It's very really nice. Like conventions are such a funny environment too, right?
Yeah.
Because they're kind of intense. They can be very intense, like in terms of just there's so much going on, right? There's games everywhere. There's people everywhere. I'm really glad that when we did meet, that it didn't feel like it was just a rushed thing, because.
No, and even like your body language too, Rodney, like, because, we were just walking the hall. So everybody's just like, okay, hi, but you stopped and like you turned and like faced me. And like, you're just like, I'm here. I'm pausing what I'm doing because I want to hear from you and like what you're doing. And that's when I was sharing, like, I want to talk about diversity and more inclusion in the gaming space and like being a woman of color, like this really passionate. And you were just like, that's amazing. Like, keep doing what you're doing, And so I was like, just those little things just like meant a lot. And then on the flip side, seeing you at PAX this last year.
You were a complete jerk. No.
No. On the flip side of that, the next time I saw you, you were walking out with Monique out of a gaming convention, and I was like, "Oh, hey, Rodney," and you were like, "Jess," and you like ran and like tackled me, and then you were like, "Oh wait, oh my gosh, we're like, are you okay with hugging?" Like, so amazing. And I was just like, yes, I'm okay with hugging, but it was like still everyone was still like walking on thin ice and like making sure people felt comfortable in their bubbles and everything. But it was just such a joyous moment of just like, oh, Rodney feels comfortable now that he could just scream my name down the hallway and give me a hug, and that's totally fine. Like
my enthusiasm certainly got the best of me, didn't it?
But it was so great though. But like I loved it. You were just like, oh my gosh, that's such Canadian of me. I'm so sorry. And I was like, no, don't be sorry at all.
Yeah.
Like, bring it in, Rodney. So anytime you see me, my friend, just bring it in.
Thanks, Jess. That's really sweet, Jess. That makes me feel really good. That's one of the things too about going back to conventions. It is really nice to see people in person again. Like so many of the relationships that we build through the internet still are at a great distance, right? And so it's quite a privilege and treat to be able to get to conventions and see people in person. And even if it's just a few moments, boy, they matter, don't they? Like there's a few minutes you can spend together and just get to talk in person. It's great.
Yeah,
it's great.
It was great. All right, Abby, go for it.
What is your go-to player color?
Well, listen, I always go to blue, and I tell myself, Rodney, you cannot get fixated on player color because you're not always going to get to be blue. Sometimes someone else is going to get blue before you, and you're going to sit there a little upset and steaming about it, but you can't let them know that you're upset. And then I spend the whole game moving the wrong pieces, as I'm sure you know, right? And it bugs me that the answer is blue because I want to be like one of those gamers. I know a few. I think Matthew Jude is one of them, kind of like ambidextrous when it comes to color. I don't care, whatever. I'll just take whatever. I'm definitely, I grab blue if I can. And I usually in my tutorial videos, you feature the blue as my character when I'm playing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you guys have that same kind of fixation where you want to be a specific color, or are you a little more flexible where it's like, is anyone here like, it doesn't matter to me?
Joe has his color fixation.
I am 100% on Team Rodney with this one. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be blue, and if I'm not blue, I will completely screw the game up. I will move everything else if I'm not blue, or I'll move blue. And then, I can see Abby scowling while you were saying that, because I've done it so many times. And if I'm not blue, I'm like, well, crap.
I'll go to move my pieces, and I'm like, where did I go? And Joe's like, what? That's not you. I'm like, that is definitely me. And he's like, oh, well, you're now over there. You're welcome for that. Thank you.
Same weakness.
What's your color, Abby?
Usually purple, if it's an option. Otherwise, like pink. Or like any of the brighter colors. I go to blue if it's not an option, mostly just to irritate Joe.
Yeah, that's what you
because I know that he's gonna go for it. And if it's a game I know he's gonna beat me in, then I'm like, oh, he'll give me points, and then I'll feel better when he takes them away because he moved the wrong color.
You know what? Right now, I am making a New Year's. Well, I can't call it. Well, I guess we could call it a new half-year resolution.
Okay.
For the rest of this year, I am going to, when blue is an option, not take it.
Wow.
I can't guarantee I can do that for the tutorial videos because blue is a nice contrast to my red tablecloth, so I like to use it for visibility. In-person games. I'm going to Origins. People can hold me to it.
Okay.
I will not take blue.
All right, you've heard it here first, folks. Exceptions can be made, but not in person.
I'm going to try it.
All right, Joe, what you got?
All right, so we're gonna take a question from chat from Quadipus. Rodney, how do you know Rich Summer? Love the Arkham Horror LCG playthroughs you've been doing.
Oh, that's lovely. I'm so glad you're enjoying them. We've been having so much fun playing through those. So Rich Summer and I met through Twitter, probably, I don't know, it feels like a long time ago now. I think he had first watched a tutorial video I did for What's My Word, which is a lovely, has anyone here played What's My Word?
No.
Okay, I'm not surprised because it's not one that I don't feel like we hear a lot about, but it's a fantastic little game that's similar to Mastermind except with words. So you have a secret word, and the other people are trying to guess it. And if you've ever played Mastermind, the person either gets the letter right, or it's right letter wrong place, or it's just wrong. And so you're going through and trying to figure out the person's word. Anyway, it was a fun little playthrough. I think he watched it and enjoyed it. And at some point in time, he would have started following me on Twitter. And I was a big Madman fan at the time. My wife and I were. And I remember going up to my wife going, Rich Summer from Mad Men is following me on Twitter. And I think that was the day that Christy developed some respect for what I was doing with my career. I think.
It legitimized it.
It did. I think it legitimized it for me. No, she was always very supportive, but I think that was a kind of a neat moment. So we started talking a little bit back and forth, and I think there was a sense of maybe a little bit of a kindred spirit in terms of our philosophies around different things, and it just sort of fostered a fun relationship, and we've been fortunate to end up in the same spaces at different times and actually get to know each other pretty well and talk pretty regularly. And we're both big fans of Arkham Horror, the card game. So the reference there is that we have been streaming it. Rich actually came to me and said, what if we streamed an entire campaign of Scarlet Keys? And I was like, yeah, I want to do that, because we would just be playing it anyway, so let's just stream it and see how that goes. And we can let everyone who's watching kind of make the major story beat decisions in the game, because the game has that kind of, you have to make different choices which branch you off into different paths. And so we have, the next episode of that will be tomorrow, actually. Little plug there, I suppose. So, yeah. And anyone can jump in any time, even if it's sort of mid-campaign. We do a nice little recap at the beginning, and then you can join in and follow along. So, yeah,
That's awesome.
Thanks for the question.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I feel it's one of the great gifts. I'm sure you guys would probably say the same thing. Like the one aspect of like making board game media and doing this sort of thing is you get to meet a number of wonderful people and forge meaningful relationships. I would say that probably some of my strongest relationships in my life now are in this hobby space, and it goes beyond the board games. People that you just know will be in your life for the rest of your life, and that's been a real gift of just doing this.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. I know for myself, Joe and Abby are are now my chosen family. You know, you've heard that
Right.
term. So
yeah, exactly.
we're stuck with each other for life, Joe and Abby, if you didn't already know that.
I mean, we've said it many times, Jess. I mean, to be honest, you know, I'm gonna back up a step here and just, you know, swell Rodney's head even more. Honestly, when I started streaming a couple years ago and I got into like the video game space just to, you know, do something during the pandemic because it was, you know, something to do to be social. And then once I finally got into board games and started finding all these, you know, wonderful people, and, you know, Jess was amongst one of the first that we found. And eventually when I found out she lived like an hour and a half from us, you know, it was just kind of kismet. Everything fell into place and we just hit it off really well. So, I mean, the simple fact that, you know, when I did get into board game streams, and even before that, I mean, Rodney, watching your videos, learning how to play games, like never in a million years did I think I'm going to actually talk to this person. Like it's wild how it works out.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, there is some, I think, very valid criticisms about parasocial relationships and some of the downfalls of those things. At the same time, like real relationships do come out of things that start parasocial sometimes, you know, like where you're watching someone, you're enjoying what they do and creatively or whatever. And I think that's one of the things about this hobby is a number of the people that have been a part of the show or just a part of the board gaming space have become people that I have gotten to know and become friends with. And it's parasocial in a positive way. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure if I have the words for it, but yeah, I think it's great when you get a chance to, you know, sort of expand like the number of people I can meet here locally where I live, quite small, right? But through the internet and through this hobby, the people I've met it's broadened my horizon significantly, you know, just in terms of my own life experience. So yeah, it's great.
That's awesome. Okay, so another question from chat, Rodney, from Silver Metal Tavern. He says, mentioning Mansions of Madness, what are your thoughts on games with companion apps, and do you worry that at times they can take away from the experience?
I've certainly heard this concern expressed by other people, and I tell you something, like, I can't think of a segment of the hobby that isn't more sometimes vocal about their feelings against something than the app people who really, really just do not want an app in their game. And I, first of all, I want to say, completely appreciate that. That's the joy of the hobby. If there's an aspect of gaming you don't like, then you can find other areas. It's never bothered me. Particularly in a case like Mansions of Madness, I still feel like I'm spending the majority of my time on the board, moving my pieces around, talking about that. Even though the app is a very integral part of the story. I don't know that I would want every game to have an app, but that's the other thing too. I don't think that's something we have to worry about. I think app integration is such an involved process. It's not something you can really do consistently with most board games. So to me, it's just like, is it complementing the play experience? In the case of Mansions of Madness, significantly. It just took away a lot of the let's say some of the more fiddly parts of the first edition, and allowed you to actually, I think, focus more on the gameplay and the story and all that sort of thing, and create these, like, what's the word for it? It's slipping me now. Procedurally generated mansions, where like every time you play that scenario, it's going to be different because the app is mixing it up for you. You know. So yeah, I'm a fan. Yeah, for sure. But I'm also completely appreciate when people don't care for it in their games. They just want to get away from a screen. You know.
Fair enough. Abby.
So James said, can you talk about how you got so involved in AirCon and why you chose to focus on it as the first Watch It Played endorsed convention?
Oh, nice. Yeah, so AirCon is a convention in the UK. And, well, actually, so AirCon reached out to me. Mark started AirCon in his home. Just like a lot of conventions can start that way, right? You invite a few friends over, you have a good time. You're like, well, maybe we'll go to a hotel or we'll do something a little bigger next time. Well, each one of us will invite some of our friends, and boom, 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 it starts to grow and grow and grow. And Mark had reached out, I think, 4 years in, and just said, hey, would you be interested in coming out as a special guest? And we just had a nice conversation about what he wants AirCon to be. And I felt an alignment in our interests. AirCon is a very gaming focused convention. I guess you could liken it to BGG Con. I haven't been to Dice Tower conventions, but it sounds like they're similar. where, sure, there are some places you can go and buy games, but it's much more focused on playing games and providing spaces for people to play games in. And that was of interest to me. The other thing that was, I think, also kind of interest to me is that Mark and the team there, although they want to grow and sort of be sustainable, they aren't looking to become the biggest convention. They want to keep sort of a certain cozy feel to it, which is hard to do if you sort of grow and grow and grow with no end in sight. I think there's sort of a size they want to keep the convention at. So there's just a lot of choices around that weren't purely to their business advantage that I kind of respected and admired. And it's like, oh, I want to be a part of this. So that's the, I guess, long-winded answer to that question. Well, and okay, I went as a guest, by the way, too. I went as a guest for a couple of years, really enjoyed it. And at that point, we had a more official partnership once I knew that it was what I thought it was, you know?
Love it, love it, love it. Sorry, I'm responding to all these wonderful comments in the chat. Everybody saying hi to each other and talking about G.I. Joe. Quaid Rain says, I love anytime G.I. Joe is mentioned in a Watch It Played video because Chaz and I get so excited with any new news. We've bonded in the comments over our shared love. I hope to meet him in person at some point.
Yeah, well, Chaz and I have been the best of friends for, it feels like forever, but it hasn't been forever, but for a long, long time. And yes, he loves G.I. Joe. I would say it's probably his favorite intellectual property. And so he always enjoys when he gets a chance to talk about it on the channel. Anytime the board game hobby gives him an excuse to talk about G.I. Joe, he's over the moon.
Yeah, agreed. All right, Joe, what you got?
All right, so another question from Chad, again from James Brazil. Rodney, I know you love Strike, so can you tell us, dice in a bowl or gladiators in an arena?
Come on, James, you know the answer to this. It's gladiators in an arena, of course it is. Has everyone here played Strike before?
Yes.
Okay, so obviously it's a rich game of gladiatorial combat. It's not some cuboids in a cylindrical bowl. Come on, it's something. It's much more exciting than that. You gotta feel it in your bones. Strike is it's a feeling. You gotta play with heart.
Yeah.
And theme.
I love it because I got introduced to Strike through Crystal Dax. And I just remember her. She was like so hyping up this. She was like, imagine you are entering this arena, and she just like had this beautiful theatrical production, and then she pulls out this, the bowl of dice, and everybody's like, what? And then she was like, no, just close your eyes and picture. And it was just amazing experience. But I just remember her just like, Strike will always be gladiators in an arena. Like,
I adore Crystal, and she's got it right. It's funny. Strike was one of those games. We were at a convention for you're asking earlier, do you like competitive or cooperative games? And I was at a tournament for Ashes, which is a very competitive game, although it was a very friendly environment to be competing in. And the game that we were playing between our tournament games was Strike. Someone had brought a copy. I'd never seen it before. And I definitely, when it was brought out and put on the table, I kind of went like, well, don't tell anyone. But like my first thought was, this looks really dumb. And then we started playing.
No, we won't say anything because it's just going to be on the internet.
Thank you. Right.
No one will know.
Everyone just keep it to yourselves. And so we started playing, and before we knew it, we were standing up around, like hooting and hollering. And I don't know. It's a very simple game for anyone who's never played before. But the way the dice are used in the game can lead to some very unexpected, cheerful moments. And has made it a pretty fun game to play, I have found.
All right, Rodney, going back to a little lighter side question. What is your favorite game night snack and beverage?
I'm glad that you recognize that we had to shift tone from something serious, like what is Strike? I'm glad that you recognize that is a serious question. Yes, let's go to something lighter and frivolous. What was the question? Snack?
Favorite snack and beverage for game night.
Okay.
Wow.
Favorite snack. I would say, look, my favorite snack is a nice bowl of peanut M&Ms, but careful, I will inhale all of them. So if you want some of them, put them in separate bowls and put one beside me that's sort of like my bowl. Because if there's a communal bowl, I can't guarantee I won't eat them all. And then I think for drinks, it's probably going to, it doesn't have to be a beer, but I do I do enjoy a beer, so probably it'd be a beer. I'm not really a soft. Generally, I drink water. That's my go-to. So it's not like it's gonna be water. It's gonna be beer.
Okay.
One or the other, probably. Maybe like a cocktail or something.
Okay.
I don't know. I guess I don't have like a go-to drink. I definitely have a go-to snack. Definitely have a go-to snack. I don't have a go-to drink.
And speaking of which, Legends redeemed a hydrate. Thank you so much, Legends.
Everybody
good. Cheers, Legends.
Cheers.
James says, "What? No cat poop coffee? What a surprise!"
Well, who knows? Maybe.
Yeah. So on the beer lines, Rodney, are you more of a lager, like a lighter beer guy, or are you more of a stout, darker beer kind of guy?
I'm not a stout, darker beer guy, but I would say that I have started to dabble a little more in that territory. Because I have friends who like swear by it, it's the best. You got to go, and like I've always found it to be not as fun to drink. And I've been dabbling a little bit. I tend to go to Pilsners though, that sort of thing. I'll do the occasional IPA. I don't know. I don't have a strong preference aside from light and dark. Frankly, it's like I tend to steer away from a darker beer, generally speaking.
Got it. Now, the only reason I ask is here in the Northwest, we're also known for our coffee and for our microbrews. So
right.
That's why I was just curious. Just curious.
Well, in the little town that I live in, we've got 2 microbreweries right here. Like everyone's doing it now, right?
Yeah.
Like it's fun to have like a little local spot that's making their own thing.
Yep. All right, Abby, what you got?
So I know we've kind of discussed how like you are a lot of board game communities fan, like, oh my gosh. So do you have a fan experience where like you met someone and you were like, oh my gosh, it's them?
Oh, interesting question. Well, I mean, I would say I had that experience the first time I met Rich Sommer, just because I knew him outside of the board game world as someone on television, so I definitely had that experience there, I would say. In the board game community specifically, I mean, I was a huge fan of the Secret Ball Gaming podcast, and I think if I think about it, like all my close friends are people I was fans of. Joel Eddy from Drive Through Games, Matt Evans, like Chaz, Eric Lang, just even like Suze, my peers. I was fans of like my peer, like T. People that like I watched T. T was the first person that I remember. They did the first vlogs that I truly remember in the board game space. And I was just fascinated by someone who was doing something so different than everything and not that there was a lot being done at that point, because it was still it was in the infancy of board game related media. There was a lot of like review content. And they were going out and like just taking you to a convention and walking through the halls and playing games with their friends. And I just sort of like, I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it, but to say like I felt like a fan of what was happening there. And so then to get to meet those people and become friends with them was a real gift, Yeah.
That's awesome.
Eric Lang. I remember the first time. I think that would have been like probably at a CMON Expo or something, and we got to do a video together for Blood Rage, and Blood Rage became such a important game. I don't know how I want to describe it. Like just another game that I was really, really, really interested in, and then just to see like Eric's advocacy for diversity and inclusion in the hobby so strongly early on, like one of the early strong voices, and realizing the value of that in our hobby. Just my admiration for the people who've put themselves out there into this world to do something in the board gaming space is pretty high for sure.
Awesome. Joe?
Do you have a favorite designer that you like to play?
All right, well, I'm just sort of looking at my shelves here. I mean, right now I have become incredibly enamored with a series of games called the Coin System, which is in the war game space, and that's by Voko Runke. And so I would say I must be a pretty massive fan of his because I've played a lot of his games. Also, right now, I'm very enamored with a game called Combat Commander Europe by the late Chad Jensen. And so I would say I'm a big fan of his. But then like Isaac Vega, his work on Dead of Winter and Ashes. Like, I'm trying to think of a game he's made that I didn't like, and I can't think of one. Like, I really enjoy Isaac's work as well. Not to mention he's just an incredibly wonderful human being. Yeah. People sometimes will ask me, would you ever want to design a game? And I'm one of those people who are like, no, I don't think so. There's so many people doing such good work in that area. I'd rather play somebody else's genius work than try to figure out how to do my own. And there's a lot of people making great games in this hobby right now. So yeah, those are some of my favorites that I can think of. But like, I don't know, I look at my shelves and I just think, boy, I love all these games.
It's definitely a hard choice, like choosing your favorite child.
It's a tough choice. It is tough to choose. Yeah. And like, David Thompson right now is doing such incredible work as well. Speaking of the war game space, like creating war games that are more approachable, accessible, I would say, to a broader audience. He's doing incredible work. Yeah. Elizabeth Hargrave, like Wingspan, incredible. Mariposis, there's so many great designers.
Totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
James is asking another question. He says, I was recently watching the Mice and Mystics Watch It Played video. How was it to work with your kids in this way and see how much they have grown and changed just as you have over the years?
Yeah. Oh, it was, that was another gift. When I started the channel, my kids were very involved, Andrea and Luke. And, I was fortunate really because in the early days, there was a lot of there was a tutorial aspect. Yes, but we were also doing full playthroughs of the games. And it was nice to have other people to be playing those games with who are living in the same household. It makes it a little easier to schedule shooting times and things like that, right?
You're not eating dinner until we shoot this video.
I'd like to think it never got to that point, but it was really fun to be able to do it. I was glad that my kids enjoyed the hobby, and they got busy with life and left the channel eventually. And I hope they left it at a point before it became work, because that's the thing. Like, it's fun doing it, but it is work at the end of the day, and I never wanted them to experience the hobby as work. That was my choice. I was making a choice to pursue board game media as a career. They weren't, you know what I mean? So as their lives got busier, I wanted them to get out, basically, so that it didn't become a burden for them, right? So yeah, and like now today, anytime my daughter visits, because she now lives in a different province, we played tons of games together. She's like, all right, Dad, what are we playing? Like, she's so keen and such a delight. Same, my son has always been good playing games with me, and they have their own passions. I would say my daughter has sort of come around to the point where she's like, I would say it's her own passion now. And my son has a variety of different interests, but board games are just something he still enjoys doing with Dad, So I'm thankful. I'm glad their time working in it never caused them not to enjoy it, I think there's a fine line there sometimes when you bring your kids into your work.
Yeah. To Live and Dice in LA says, with that, one of my favorite Watch It Played videos was when Andrea taught Jaipur. She did a great job, a much better teacher than I am. And Hornice says, Andrea and Luke's Jaipur video is still a classic.
That's really nice of you to say. That was really cool because Andrea did that all herself. So she wanted to do a tutorial video. She said, Dad, can I do one? She was really enjoying Jaipur, great game. And I said, sure, you write the script. Like, I'll help set up the equipment, but I'll leave the studio and you just shoot it. You can call me if you need me for something. But she really just did. I remember being like upstairs because the studio's in her home, and just hearing her doing the multiple takes of like delivering a line and it's not quite right and tripping over something and having to repeat it multiple times. Something I do all the time, and it was very cute and adorable. And people's reaction was so nice and so kind and so warm. And she did a great job. So it was cool to have her do her own thing on the channel.
That's awesome. Abby?
So where did it go? Hold on. My brain cell left.
That's all right. Hang in. Hey, while you're looking for it, they gave me a homework assignment. I had to...
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yay!
I did my homework, everybody. I did my homework.
It's so beautiful.
Love it.
It was fun to break out these are colored pencils. When I was a kid, I remember when I feel like my crayoning evolved. I don't have a very good example, but maybe I do. Notice the little figure here. I saw a friend of mine. They would do like a dark outline on one edge, And then the rest they do light, and I always thought that made a nice effect. It's not necessarily a shading as much as a bordering, but I always like that. So I tried to employ a little of that on the.
Do you know what that meeple's from, Rodney?
No. Hold on.
It's a rare game that not many people have played.
Can you give me the first? Can you give me a clue? It looks familiar.
Okay, I'll give you a clue that might not be helpful. It's a Reiner Knizia game.
Oh, then maybe I don't know. Okay, what game is it?
It's Lost Cities, the board game.
Oh, okay. No kidding. No, I've never played that. I mean, I played the card game, but not the board game.
It's my heart.
Love it?
I love it. I love it so much. I love it better than the dice and the roll and write. Believe it or not. I'm in the rare category.
How do you compare it to the original card game? I think the card game was the original.
Oh, I love it far better because you can play 4-player.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, now I'm very curious because I think Lost Cities, the card game, is a masterpiece. So I'd be very interested to
Gus,
try.
My husband's in the chat and he's like, Jess loves it because it gives her gives me heart palpitations. It gives him heart palpitations because I'm so good at it and that he just is like, it gives him anxiety when he plays it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, Legends is there with me. But yes, I mean, the card game's fine. The card game is fine. But, like, it's just, the board game just gives
everybody? Did you hear that, everybody? The card game's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. Wow, the confidence. I love it.
It's fine. But it's so lovely. And yeah, like, Silver Medal Tavern knows what I'm talking about. Like, I've been wanting to, like, get that game to the table, but the board is so massive, like, unnecessarily so, that it'll be really hard to stream. So I just want folks to like experience it in person. So,
That's cool.
Okay.
Anyway, I love when someone's excited about something. Now I'm very excited about it.
Anyway,
I've never played. I've seen it. I've wanted to, but I've never played the board game version.
And it's hard because I hope I just like hype it up so much just because the game is just so fantastic. But at the same time, I don't want people to get in that expectation that they'll be like, meh. This game's fine. Which is fine. This is fine. Go ahead, Joe.
Dr. Knizia can do no wrong. So, I mean, I'm already interested.
You talked about like Chaz being a G.I. Joe fan. I don't know, like Matthew Jude is a Reiner Knizia fan like I've never seen.
And he's never taught you Lost Cities, a board game?
No, but I mean, to be fair, we don't exactly live next door to each other, so it's difficult. We get very few occasions, but we get one of those occasions coming up soon in June. We'll be all here together in the studio space, and I'm sure
it's a lighter game, so I could see him not like, yes, we got to get it to the table, you know.
Oh, he loves all those kind of games. Those like lighter card games. I do too.
Okay.
You know? I feel very fortunate that my tastes are quite broad because with the channel, I want to cover a broad cross-section of games, so it's nice. I can do things that are light and have a great time, do things that are ridiculously heavy and have a great time. So
that's awesome.
I'm fortunate that way.
All right, Abby, did you find your question?
I did. I even highlighted it to make sure that my brain cells didn't lose it this time.
I got a question for you. Abby. Sorry.
So I'll put her on the spot.
Well, you said you highlighted. So something I've been doing recently with board games is I'm highlighting in board games now. When I'm reading a rule book, I get my highlighter out and I start highlighting those key things, those forgettable rules. You know what I mean? And I know this is a point of contention, right? Because some people they want to keep their games just sort of like just so, you know.
Yeah.
But I have found it to be incredibly helpful. I suppose, especially on the games that are on the more complex side. But boy, it's been a game changer for me.
I like that. Brain says #cancel
Rodney. Oh wow!
Yeah, I thought the app question was the contentious one. No. It's the highlighter rule book. That's the one.
No, you've desecrated a rule book. How dare you?
I think of all people, I think Rodney actually has that right, though.
Maybe I've heard it.
Yeah.
Took 11 years, but maybe
he's earned it by now.
That's great.
I probably should actually, or get sticky flags, because there are so many times where I'm like, Joe, you did that wrong, and he's like, no, I didn't. I'm like, give me the rule book, and then I'm like, okay, maybe you did it right, but I don't like that. And then I gotta spend 5 minutes flipping through the rule book, and I'm like,
I know, I hate that. I just have this photographic memory sometime, and it happens all the time. I'm just like, this is the rule. And you're like, no, it's not. And you fight me on it. And then when I show you where it is,
he's like, it says right here that you're wrong. And I'm like, well, that is stupid, and I disagree with it. And I am changing the rule book so that it's not like that. But the question was, what is the most incredible bargain you've ever found on a board game?
Ooh. Wow. That's an interesting question. Do people have answers for these questions? My goodness.
Yes.
Joe and I do.
we definitely have an answer if you can't think of one.
Incredible bargain. I mean, this feels cheeky to say, but like probably my best bargain was getting like the Takanoko Collector's Edition because I was doing the tutorial video for it. So I got it at quite a deal. But I'm trying to think like a good answer where it's like something I'm buying and, hard to get or, here's how I'll answer it. And it is kind of a cheat, but probably one of the nicest gifts I received, and so that's about as good a deal as you can get, was the game Ambush. Remember earlier I was talking about how the first game that I really got into the hobby was this very complex game with an 80-page rulebook. It was called Empires in Arms. And then after that, I discovered a solo game that I could play myself that also had this complexity. It was a game called Ambush. And there came a point when I kind of got away from the hobby. Like I said, I had a young family and life was busy. And I had the few board games I had, I was actually getting a little bit, not to be hyperbolic about it, but it was kind of, I don't want to use the word depressing me, but it was because that's maybe not the right word for it. But I was looking at my games and I'm going, I don't know when I'm ever going to play these games. In fact, just having them is kind of like bumming me out because I'm never going to find people to play these games with. And I got rid of some games that I sort of in frustration, and Ambush was one of them. This game that had meant so much to me when I was a kid, I was like, I'm never going to get around to playing this again. My life will never afford me the opportunity. The funny thing is, I think it was probably a month after I tossed those games in the garbage, I started Watch It Played, and then, of course, changed the trajectory entirely of my life in terms of games and how they are part of my life. But someone very kindly gifted me a copy of Ambush later when I talked about sharing that story. That was probably one of the best deals I ever got, but also like one of the most meaningful gifts, because that game gave me so many hours of enjoyment when I was really young that it was special to have a copy of it again.
That's wonderful. That's very cool. Joe.
But now I want to hear about your best deal game that you got.
Yeah. So for us, this was in the infancy of like our board gaming journey. I think it was within the first year or so, Abby, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah. Within the first probably 6 months, truthfully. Because we hit up Goodwill. Like, Goodwill was our jam. And we hit up Goodwill weekly. Sometimes, like, multiple times a week to see if they got new stuff in.
Yeah, we were definitely in that stage. And technically we have two, but I think the one I'm going to mention is definitely the better deal. So Abby comes home one day with, a handful of games, but she brings home this one, and I'm just like, well, what is that? I've never even heard of it. It's a copy of The Downfall of Pompeii in shrink wrap for $8.
Whoa.
And I almost didn't buy it because I thought $8 was expensive. I was like, I don't know. It was a purchase. It was pretty rich for my taste. And he's like, well, it's in shrink. It looks pretty fun. I don't know.
Yeah. So we played it, and it wound up being, it still is probably one of our top 10 games. It's so fantastic. I mean, Jos Corgenverde is another fantastic designer that could probably do no wrong. I mean, Carcassonne speaks for itself. Yeah. But it's still on our shelves, and that was probably our best bargain. Second best bargain after that, I think I went back a couple weeks later and found a copy of Elder Sign for like $10, which is also great. So yeah, we got two bargains from Goodwill.
I get what you're saying though, but like the $8 price tag at Goodwill, it's a little rich here. Little rich.
Yeah, but this is in the beginning where we're just like, $8 for a board game.
I didn't spend over $10. Like.
Yeah, and
I totally get it. I think it's kind of charming because that's the truth of it, right? I mean, we've certainly seen the price tags on board games have been creeping up as more and more things get put in those boxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure. Like fast forward, we've been doing this for 7-8 years now. We're just like $100 for a board game. That's a steal.
Yeah. I was gonna say a few weeks after that, I dropped like $80 on Fortune and Glory, and Joe's like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Bro, it looks so cool, though."
Oh my god, that's a story in and of itself. Okay, now I have to tell that story because it's so good. So when Okay, I have to start from the beginning, and I apologize for like throwing this interview off the rails, but it's just such a great story, and I love telling it. So this is just after Abby had moved in, and we were, we had started seeing each other, and she was looking for some shoe space. So she opens up the hall closet, and I had like a small collection of games. Like I had Pandemic, I had Firefly, like a couple of things, because my friends at the time didn't really play board games. It was just kind of me. So she turns to me and is like, hey, I didn't know you played board games. Like, I mean, I do, but I hardly ever play them. So she's like, well, I'll play with you. I'm like, okay, cool. So she was in school at the time and she was on a break. So she goes down a rabbit hole, finds Will Wheaton's Tabletop. Yeah. And she sees the episode of Fortune and Glory. And who doesn't love Fortune and Glory? It's basically, Indiana Jones, the board game. It's fabulous. So I'm at work. She sends me a message. She's like, hey, check out this game. Like, it might be something we want to try. And we hadn't really played heavy games at that point. Like, it was probably the heaviest we played at the time. So I check out the video, and I'm like, all right, this is pretty cool. And I look it up online, and I think I found it at Miniature Market. It was like, I think like $150 or something like that. It was like egregiously priced at the time. Wow. So she's like, well, I bought it. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, you're a college student. You just dropped $150 on a board game. And she's like, no, I found it on sale for like $75. I'm like, that's not better. Like, that's still a lot. But yeah, she bought it. We played it, and it's another one that's near and dear to us. So yeah, funny about how the prices of what we think is expensive in board games changes as it goes down the line.
And I think it's great. Like Matthew Jude did a really good segment on one of the Q&A episodes that he does for the channel, where he talked about, there can be this perception, and understandably so, that the board game hobby is sort of becoming a hobby for those who have a lot of disposable income. And listen, there's no question there are games that are like 150. Like, it's not just a casual thing you can just, I'll just buy this and whatever. But there are so many games that still continue to be in that $10 to $15 range. It's a hobby that still offers a lot of play. I mean, some of us who are really into the hobby are all about having like 20, just a collection that never stops growing. But I mean, frankly, like, you could have 10 games and that could take care of your whole year, or 5, if it's something you really want to play. I think that there are lots of great options in this hobby for people who are looking to, be kinder to their budget and still get a lot of play and fun out of them, And I think there's a lot of interesting things happening in the design space, whether it's roll and write games or trick-taking games and things like that. There's also lots of print and play games that are still being released. You can go on and get for free on Board Game Geek that are being, like, really interesting, clever designs are being made by publishers or designers that way as well. So,
yep.
But there's no question, there's a lot of games out there too that are, quite pricey.
Yeah. Agreed. Joe?
All right. I'm really excited to ask you this question, Rodney, because I love asking this of all of our guests.
Okay.
So I'm curious to hear how you answer this.
All right.
Do you consider yourself a player first, a content creator second, or has the creative process overtaken the hobby aspect of gaming for you?
Ooh, that's a meaty one. Can you say it one more time?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you consider yourself a player first, a content creator second, or has the creative process overtaken the hobby aspect of gaming for you?
Oh, that's a tough one. I do think of myself probably more as a creator first, but what I have found for myself is that my joy for the hobby has only grown because of it. So it hasn't overwhelmed my desire to play. But I think in terms of my time and how I assign it, it's mostly to the creative process, for sure. Like, watch it play is my full-time work. It's sort of, so it definitely it consumes my time. But what do I do when I'm not working? I play board games. That's what I enjoy doing. I have remote games going right now, like for Combat Commander and a number of these coin games that I'm playing. When I have downtime, I want to break out a rule book and learn a new game from my shelf. So if anything, it's just made me more passionate about the hobby. So I guess it's sort of both, but I definitely think of myself more as a creative first and then player second. But yeah, okay. I don't know. Does that answer the question?
No, that absolutely answers the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've gotten so many different answers to that question. I love hearing everybody's, thought of, wow, I've never really kind of, thought about my place in the hobby that way. And it's really interesting. So I love asking that question.
Yeah, it's a great one.
All right, Rodney, what is a motivation that you have that actually keeps you going in doing content creation?
Ooh, well, gosh, the first thing that jumped to my mind, I guess I should just say, I feel like I'm in a very fortunate place that the decision I made about how I wanted to make videos about board game. So, oh gosh, how do I talk about this? Making tutorial videos means that you are, in essence, hopefully, if you're doing it well, helping people who want your assistance in something. So what I'm getting at is the feedback I tend to get on the work that I do is quite positive. So it is quite meaningful to do something where you feel like you're having some kind of positive impact. It's a little weird to say that out loud and talk about because it sounds maybe self-congratulatory, but that's not what I mean. People are very generous and kind with their thoughts towards the work. And so that's certainly very fulfilling. Like the work itself is quite isolating in a way because I'm just here alone in my basement. You know what I mean? Like it's just me by myself doing this. Of course, we have the team now that we collaborate with on a number of projects. When it comes to tutorials, I'm just alone doing it, writing, shooting, and so forth. But the kindness that people have expressed towards the work is certainly very encouraging and fulfilling. Because I hopefully it comes across. I really, really feel there's something special about this hobby, and to be able to be a part of it in a way that's positive is fulfilling for sure. Yeah, I think that's probably one of the things. I think the other thing probably as well is that I'm doing something that I think might be a good fit for my skill set. I guess I've had a few different jobs. I'm sure we all have where we're maybe it's not the perfect fit for who we are and what we want to be doing. And I feel very fortunate that I found something that is a good fit for who I am and what I want to do. I don't have like aspirations beyond this. I don't sit here and think, boy, I really wish I was doing something else. I'm doing kind of the thing I'm glad to be doing. And again, I'm only able to do that because of so many factors, like first of all, my wife who's supportive because there's not really a way of sustaining this when you start doing something like this. Especially when I started, there was nobody doing this as a career, So I had a lot of support from my wife and I had a lot of support from the community. The people who watched and supported us along the way, it made all the difference in the world, for sure.
Yeah. And I will add to that too, Rodney, you've done really well at using your platform as Watch It Played in like a positive light too. And I think that's been really helpful and really encouraging for other folks. I think one in particular, I remember you made a video, just like a quick video on Twitter, and you were just like, hey, this is what I want to say about this issue that's going around. And, there's always those issues where people like to use social media as their platform for their voices, which doesn't necessarily get the same meaning behind it. It always gets misinterpreted for whatever factor it is. And I just remember you posting on here, you're like, hey, this is what I feel because I'm going to use my platform and this is what I'm going to say about it. And it was just so light and like in terms of like, you were very cautious in what you were saying, but also respectful to the people that were being, angry or frustrated about whatever the conflict was. But the way that you were able to kind of like put your voice in there and go like, hey, let's think about this also from like both sides of the table. And also let's have a conversation about it. Let's not point fingers or like, well, you said this and you said that kind of thing. Like, let's talk about this, let's kind of like diffuse it in a way to make it like a better situation. And I also like just appreciated that too. It was just like, I want to say something. And I know that there's going to be a lot of you that are going to hear it because a lot of you follow me. So this is what I'm going to say. And I think that was huge.
Well, there's a couple of thoughts that come into my mind when you say that. I mean, one is, I'm really thankful that I've been surrounded by peers in this hobby who have talked about important issues in this hobby for a long time, whether it's around diversity and inclusion in the hobby or any number of important topics that go beyond the cardboard and plastic.
Yeah.
They go to the human element of it, the human aspect of it. And frankly, there's a lot of those conversations that I would not have understood the importance or relevance of because of all of this. You know, as a white male heterosexual, I get to sit in sort of these blind spots of our culture where a lot of things that affect other people don't affect me.
Yeah.
And you know, like I said, there's a lot of my peers who took it on the chin early and often trying to talk about these important issues. And you're right, social media is a funny place because when you do talk about certain things, then it can become, oh, so you're trying to, you know, you're trying to insert yourself into the conversation, or you're virtue signaling, or all the other different things you can be accused of. But yeah, hopefully in whatever way I've used the platform, it has been to positive effect. You know, it's always hard to know. But I have to credit a lot of other people who were doing that long before I chose to use my platform that way when I could.
Yeah,
but
of course.
Yeah.
Abby?
If it was your last day on Earth, what would your last food day be? Breakfast to dinner. What would you do?
Oh, okay. What would I want for each meal? Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, you guys really do pivot the questions from like super serious to.
we try to keep it jovial.
We mix it up.
Yeah. Okay, let me think here. Well, first of all, breakfast. I'm probably going to have some scrambled eggs, bacon, pancakes, orange juice. Boy, not really exciting, but like I do love a good hearty breakfast, and I don't often have it. So that's probably where I go. Lots of good maple syrup there on the. Is it waffles or pancakes? Am I doing waffles or pancakes, guys? What's
waffles?
Oh, I mean, final meal. Waffles. It's a tough choice.
Yeah, I think I might. Oh gosh, I think it might be waffles. I think you're right. It might be waffles. Yep. And then, oh gosh, I'm terrible because like food for me is a speed bump in my day. I often don't find myself enjoying meals because I'm just generally, it's just calories to keep going. Whereas I know some people, like, they really like feast. So probably, I think I'm hearing someone at my door. I'm the only one home. Just one second. Let me make sure it's not something I have to go. No, it's something I have to deal with. Someone dropping something off. Lunch. It's probably going to be, listen, I'm just going to be boring. It's probably going to be a wrap with some cheese, some lettuce in it, and some tomato. It's going to be, oh, you know what? It might be a burrito bowl. No, it's going to be a burrito bowl. I'm changing it. So my last day, I'm getting a burrito bowl.
Nice.
And my dinner meal is probably going to be, the Côte de Boeuf at Bob's Steakhouse in Texas. I'm sorry. Someone have to fly me out for my last day. Fly me in. I'm picky. But it is like, oh yes, I know. Hornus is saying it's Stella's. I know. Sorry, Stella's is probably what I'm doing. It's the burrito bowl or Stella's. Stella's makes this fantastic fish and chips. They have perfect coleslaw, and she makes wonderful coconut cream pie. It's like a local food truck. It's probably Stella's. Okay, listen, we're gonna scrap breakfast. We're gonna have Stella's for breakfast. We're gonna have the burrito bowl at lunch, and then I'm flying out to Bob's Steakhouse. I have to credit Aldi from Board Game Geek, who very kindly treated us, took us out to Bob's Steakhouse one time, and I had I said like food is just like a speed bump in my day.
Yes.
This was a meal where I went, oh, this is what it's like to truly appreciate a meal that you're having. Like the whole plate was just every mouthful was heavenly and transformative. It was like, oh, amazing. So anyway, that's my there's my day.
That's a good day.
I love it.
It's not bad. Yeah.
Joe, do you want to add to it? Add to it from Silver Medal Tavern's question.
Oh, sure. So Matt asked if it was your quote unquote last night on Earth, which character would you be, and what's your favorite weapon?
Well, I have never played Last Night on Earth.
Oh, you should. It's fabulous.
I've been hearing about it for a long time, and my good pal Jamie over at the Secret Cabal, again, another game that he just loves, just the way, Joe, you were talking about it. So which one would, here, tell me this. You're the experienced one. Which which character would I be, and what would be my favorite weapon?
Oh, I mean, it's been a while since I played Last Night on Earth, and I'm ashamed to say that. But
is there a lumberjack in it?
I think there might be. I don't know. Matt could probably answer it better than I could. But
I'm lumberjack. I'm probably the lumberjack. And my weapon's probably an axe then in that case. Yeah. I feel like that's what I've been lately anyway, or a chainsaw, because we had I was just saying before the stream started, we had a hurricane run through the area like at the end of last year, and it knocked down a lot of trees. So I'm going to be cleaning up trees off my property for the rest of my life, and I've been doing that lately. So yeah, maybe it's probably a chainsaw and a lumberjack.
It's a good choice.
There we go.
Oh, that's too funny. Johnny and chainsaw, says Matt.
Yeah, there you go.
Got it.
All right. So Hornus asked Rodney, what is the oldest game in your collection? And by oldest, he means actual physical age of the game, not the year it was designed.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah. Good question. It would probably be the copy of Ambush that was given to me, because that is also both the oldest and also probably the oldest in terms of print run. If I didn't pick that, it's probably the copy of Scrabble that we've got from when I was a kid. That's probably it. Yeah. I'm not I have to say I'm a bit of a, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm a bit of a purger, meaning I don't hang on to a lot of things for sentimental reasons. I have put a higher premium on like having things organized in my life. So I'm not like a major collector. Outside of board games, I certainly have more than enough copies of board games for sure. But I don't tend to hang on to things. If there's something I'm not playing, I will tend to get rid of it. There's very few games I've sort of hung on to,
That's us. That's us for sure. We're always cycling out things on the shelf.
We're always cycling out. Yeah. The only thing for me is I actually have a handcrafted wooden Mancala set from Africa that my friend gave me as a gift when she traveled over there. And I won't play it because it's just too beautiful to look at. But I have like a secondary, regular Target sale Mancala set that I'll play. Yeah, that one it's so beautiful that I'm like, nope, this is going to be in my life for forever long.
Oh, that's neat. I see in the chat JT saying I have my grandparents' Clue set and my dad's Risk set from college.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's
really cool. I think that's a really neat thing to have. Like if I had my grandfather and I used to play a lot of checkers together. He taught me and we played a fair bit. Like if I had his checker set, that's probably something that for sentimental reasons I would have hung on to and kept if I'd had it, Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, Abby, back to you, my dear.
Where
hit me, Abby.
Get that
highlighter out.
I know. I need like a mouse scroll, like a mouse cursor that is a highlighter, or just get Post-it notes and stick them everywhere. That's usually what I do at work. I know James had asked what it was like your favorite train or stock game, and I'm curious as someone who loves train and stock games.
Well, actually, that's a great question because I'm not like a big train and stock person. Like I say that's a corner. Like I haven't played any of the 18XX games. It's a corner of the hobby I'd like to play. But of course, there's other fare outside of 18XX. The the Ride the Rail series is probably the capstone series of games like Irish Gauge and Ride the Rails and those are probably the ones that I have the most experience with. So I probably would have to go with that just based on experience of play. I've always been curious. Which one is the one by Martin Wallace? Age of Steam, is that right?
Yeah, Age of Steam is his.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to try that because I really like Martin Wallace designs. So I imagine I would enjoy that. What would be your recommendation to someone who's maybe new to that genre? What direction would you point people in?
We've got plenty.
I think if you're going to start with an 18XX, I think like 1889 is a good one to start with. It's not super hard. I mean, we taught our kiddo when they were, I think, 8 or 9.
They were 8 years old.
Yeah, they picked it up pretty easy, which I think is good because they have really bad ADHD. So train games are usually not the best. Otherwise, I think cube rails are definitely a good intro into train games. Like Chicago Express is a good intro one, which I love because you get the kind of general idea of things to do, but it's not super overwhelming or like, oh my gosh, I just messed up on like round 2 and now I'm doomed for the rest of the 6-hour game.
That's what I've heard. They can be a little bit punishing that way, right? I'm just going into my Kickstarter pledges because I know I have an 18XX game that I backed, and I'm trying to remember what it was, but I think it's Shikoku 1889.
Yep. Shikoku 1889. So that's actually a reprint. So 1889 was done kind of like trying to think of the publisher. I think it was like called like Deep Thought or something, and it's out of a guy's like basement, and it was kind of like hard to get for the longest time. And there's a company that basically picked up the license and did like this complete redesign and reprint on it. And it's the same one that Abby's talking about, and it's a good introductory one.
That's what I've heard, and that's what drew me to it. Was kind of presented as this would be good if you haven't played an 18xx game before, and that it looked like the production was really nice as well. I wouldn't say that 18xx games to me necessarily grabbed me by the collar and go, look how exciting we are to play. So seeing something had a little more production polish on it I was kind of keen to check out. Although it's funny, I would say that about like some of the war games that I've been sort of playing lately. I wouldn't say they necessarily excel in the presentation aspect, but the more I play them, the more they start to become beautiful to me. You know what I mean? Because I start to appreciate them differently. I suppose the same thing with Euro games. Like, I was never into Euro games. Give me the adventure games. Euro games seem kind of dry and boring. Carcassonne, of course, being more of a Euro game, but still, when I think of like the traditional Euro games, I wasn't drawn to them until I started to really enjoy them. And then I just saw them in a totally different light. All those little beige cubes and things suddenly look attractive to me. They meant something more than just the sum of their parts.
You saw the Burgundy and Castles of Burgundy. No, just kidding.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. I saw it for the beauty that it was.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have to agree with like 18xx games in general are not known for art. Like
God, no!
You've got yellow, green, brown, and gray tiles on like a very like plain board. Like if you're getting into train games for that, you're in the wrong place. Like you're playing 18xx because you like the theme of like economic and stock games, or running railroad companies to try and make money. Like that's what you're getting into it for.
Why can't we have both? I want both. I've heard too that with 18xx games, it's for functional reasons. If it was too wild, you'd have a harder time tracking it. But I'd love to see like what someone like Tool or someone who has like just an eye for graphic design without trying to like turn it into a complete color kaleidoscope could do, to maybe still give it that theme feeling on top of, without getting in the way of what needs to be a very functional mathy game as well.
Mm-hmm. And I think Shikoku 1889 is going to kind of scratch that niche for an attractive looking train game. Because there's another one I could recommend, 18 Chesapeake. Again, that one's super plain, but great for entry level.
That's what I heard.
And it has a crab meeple, so it's my favorite.
Abby's a little biased on that one.
There.
All right, Joe.
All right. Do you think the terms board game and tabletop are separate, or are they becoming interchangeable?
That's another good question. I think they are becoming interchangeable. Because if someone said to me, "Are you into tabletop games?" I would presume they were including board games in that definition. Although I suppose when I think of tabletop, I do think probably tabletop does imply something broader to me, for sure. Like I think miniatures games, I think role-playing games. Whereas if someone said board game, I don't think role-playing games. I don't think miniatures game even, really. I like traditional war miniatures games, like like a 40K, that sort of thing. So yeah, but I feel like that becoming more synonymous. I think in practice where I wouldn't have said that. What do you guys think about that? That's really curious. I'd be curious too in the chat. Like, sound off, because that's an interesting question. I don't know.
Yeah, I would definitely say they're becoming interchangeable to a point, but I would definitely say it's definitely more synonymous than interchangeable. Like you can tell somebody, you play board games or tabletop games, but there's some, I don't want to call them purists, but I'm going to call them purists for lack of a better term, that'll say, no, if you say tabletop, you mean role-playing games. You don't mean, board games. Or if you get into board games, like, well, if you play card games, that doesn't have a board, so does that still qualify? It's definitely synonymous more than interchangeable, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I do think it's blending more, for sure. I think because the board game hobby is still quite a small percentage of the tabletop space. I mean, you think about how how impactful Magic the Gathering has been and still is. I mean, that's probably what more people are going to encounter when they think about tabletop, is probably Magic the Gathering or role-playing games like D&D and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're seeing more and more board games in popular culture and on YouTube media and places like that. So I think it's starting to worm its way into that definition a little more strongly. Yeah, interesting question.
All right, Rodney, another controversial topic.
Oh boy.
When it comes to your game shelves, do you stack your games horizontal, vertical, or if it fits, it sits?
Well, I would have said to you in no uncertain terms that horizontal is the way to do it. And lately, I'm going through a transition period in my life where now some of my games are stacked vertically, and I'm not feeling as conflicted about it as I used to. So the reason why I wouldn't like vertical is, in my question, no doubt the best way to do it for getting the games off the shelf. Because they're right there, just pull it off. Whereas if it's stacked, now if I want the game on the bottom, I got to take the ones off the top of the way and blah, blah, blah. But the vertical thing, I just imagine all the components in the box just sort of like falling into to the lower third of it and all just like falling and collapsing in there. And I just never liked that. Because when I put my game away and I organize it in the box, I'm doing it flat on the table. That's how the pieces I'm arranging there. Now I'm just tipping them on their side. All that good work, they're just all being bunched into the bottom corner. But you know what? There's a number of games that kind of just fit better on my shelf vertically. So I gave it a try, and I'm kind of digging it. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you do like your closing segment on your videos, do you slide your game? You slide most of them vertically, don't you?
Or horizontally?
Or horizontally. Yes, horizontally. That's what I meant. Like you were like, if you have any questions, I'll get to them when I can. Right. And you're like, you're sliding it back in. So
so those shelves, I mean, I would never do them vertically there. They just aren't the right dimensions for it. These were some custom shelves that I had done by a local carpenter when I was updating the studio, specifically to fit kind of like those Ticket to Ride boxes sort of stacked on top of each other. So they work really well for that. Then I have another series of shelves on the other side that are a little taller and just like they're kind of the perfect size for the Arkham Horror cardboard boxes, or like the Euros that kind of have that rectangular shape. And they kind of work perfectly vertically there. So I'm of two minds now.
Okay.
I'm of two minds.
Abby?
What is your favorite non-board game activity or hobby?
Okay, well, my favorite non-board game activity or hobby, well, for a little while there, I would have said it was Magic, as in Magic Tricks, not Magic the Gathering. I sort of fell down a rabbit hole of kind of like rediscovering my joy of Magic Tricks. Actually, I can kind of blame Rich Summer for that, because he was doing the same thing, and it kind of inspired me to revisit that. When I was young, I had some Magic books that full of Magic Tricks, and I could never figure them out. The illustrations were poor. It's like a bad rule book, basically, is what it was. Like, they were just poorly written, bad illustrations. And then as an adult, I was like, well, hold on. I'm a little probably able to understand and comprehend this a little better as a hobby. So why don't I give it a shot now? And sure enough, it was a fulfilling thing I was doing for a good while. But the channel is pretty all-consuming, so it's hard to kind of have two different hobbies on the go. Probably of late, like I was telling you earlier, I've been kind of having some fun learning how to brew coffee, and that's kind of like its own little hobby right now. Yeah, for sure.
Neat. Joe.
All right, what would you take on an ideal weekend getaway? Top 5 games, like you have the ideal player count, you have the ideal people. Top 5, what would you bring?
Great. I love that you caveated with the ideal people, because that would have been like, if you hadn't said that, I would say, well, it depends on the people. Okay, so let's assume I've got people who want to play whatever it is that I want to play. I would take with me a coin game. So for anyone who doesn't know, it's a style of war game that refers to counterinsurgency. I'd probably take Cuba Libre for that. I would take Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition, because I don't get to play that game as much as I'd like, and I still have a variety of scenarios that I haven't played through. I'd love an excuse to get that out and play that with people who are like-minded and wanting to go on an adventure together. I'm sort of looking off to my shelves, which are over my shoulder, because it's the best way to remember what games excite me when I look at them. I would probably... So have I mentioned 2? I've only done 2 so far?
Yes.
That's 2.
I would probably grab. Okay, I would grab Ashes Reborn, no question. Because again, I really love. It's my favorite card dueling game. Like in the genre of games like Magic the Gathering and those sort of collectible card games where you're competitively dueling with somebody, Ashes Reborn is my favorite. And again, not a game I get to play as often as I would like. So I know there's going to be somebody at this event who really is into it like I am. Great, that would be awesome. I'd love to do that. Okay, I'd probably take Combat Commander Europe with me because I've only been playing that remotely of late. And when I say remotely, I mean I have my physical copy set up. The person I'm playing with has their physical copy set up, and we send little videos back and forth with each other with our phones. Like I'll record my turn as I'm doing it, and I just send it over. They get the turn, they update their board, they take their turn and send it back. And so it's this. I really enjoy it compared to something like Board Game. I mean, Board Game Arena is fantastic and phenomenal. There's a lot of great like online implementations, but this way, we're playing with our physical copies, and because it's a video I'm sending, they're playing with me and I'm playing with them. I feel it because I'm seeing their face and they're reacting to things that are happening, or rolling dice and having those moments like that are still kind of in person, even though we're not. So I'd love to be able to play Combat Commander Europe in person. That'd be great. I would take Time's Up Title Recall because it's one of my favorite party games. And that would be fun for laughs. I don't know what I would take as my fifth. There's 4. Oh, I know what I would take. I would take that. I would take Lost Cities, the board game.
Yes. Because I'm one of your ideal players. Yeah.
Because Jess is one of my ideal players. Because apparently, Lost Cities, which I think is phenomenal, is only just fine after you've played Lost Cities, the board game. So.
I've hyped up this game so bad. Oh my gosh.
Awesome. Jess, you're going to teach us, and we're just going to be like, it's okay.
It's totally going to be like that. Oh, man.
Dutch Yoda in the comments said 2 things. One, he said, not Kemet, which is funny. And Dutch Yoda is probably saying that because for the longest time, I would have said Kemet was my favorite game of all times. But I haven't played Kemet in so long, I feel a little self-conscious saying it's my favorite game, quote unquote. Because I just haven't played it in years. So can it be my favorite game if I haven't played it forever? But I would enjoy being able to play it again. But the other, if you don't mind me plucking a question out of the comments.
No, do it.
Dutch Yoda. Okay.
Please.
Dutch Yoda said, question, rulebook on the bottom or rulebook on top? And I'm assuming Dutch Yoda means in the box, right?
Yes.
Like you put the rulebook, and oftentimes rulebooks are the same size as the box. So you can put on the bottom, it becomes a base, or you put on top. I always put it on top, even though it means it's probably like kind of like flopping funny across it's like a little blanket, on top of the components rather than laying flat. Because that's usually the first thing I'm grabbing. Like if I'm thinking about playing something for a game night, it's like, well, I better pluck the rule book out, see if I can refresh myself quickly enough. So I like having access to the rule book on top.
You also made a video, Rodney, about the size of the rule book too.
I sure did.
Because if it's the size of the box, it's much more annoying to you than having a nice little hand, because you have these skills for holding it in one hand and then moving the pieces around. So if you have a giant, book that's like pizza this box, I can't play my game. Basically, that's what you were saying, Rodney.
Yeah, I noticed that it's a funny thing in the board game hobby that many rule books I feel are sized not for what makes for a good reading dimension.
No.
But instead, what's the size of our box? Therefore, our rule book must be the same size as the box. And I do find that a little surprising / alarming / questionable when many of our game boxes are giant squares.
Yes.
Because it means then the rule book is the size of an open pizza box, which is, I don't find necessarily conducive to reading, and certainly not conducive to laying it on the table, because it becomes almost the size of a board game unto itself. So it's like, where am I putting this? Because when I'm learning, I like to have the book out and open, right? But now I've got this giant floppy thing.
Yeah.
It's like a blanket.
Yeah.
And not everyone agreed. Like some people are like, no, I prefer the bigger size because I want bigger illustrations and I want the clarity that the more real estate provides. So it's not like, my way or the highway. But for myself personally, I like somewhere. You're right. The example I gave was the Ashes rulebook, which is actually almost like Reader's Digest size. Mm-hmm. And I wish I almost hadn't given that as an illustration, because I'm not saying that's the best size, but I prefer something that's a little more manageable, that doesn't feel like I've just unfolded a blanket in my lap when I open it.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was hilarious, though. You were like,
Yeah.
I might straw some controversy, but this is what it was too great. Joe, I'm going to have you go grab our special guest while we ask our next question.
I will definitely go grab him. But before I do, Rodney, if we ever get a chance to be in person, Mansions and Madness, let's go. We haven't played in forever. Abby and I are overdue. Like it's one of our favorites. We're always ready to go.
That is a wonderful invitation. I'd be 100% game. I would love to.
Let's do it. All right, let me go grab our friend.
After we play Lost Cities, the board game. Though.
After Lost Cities.
Okay, sure.
Yes.
All right, Abby, what you got?
So I know we had mentioned Kickstarter. So what is the last game that you backed on crowdfunding? Be GameFound, Kickstarter, any of those?
Okay.
Pull up your list, sir.
I'm going right now because I'm a little nervous. Oh, you know what I just backed? It's a storage system for pocket board games called Filler.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw this or not.
I did not.
Yeah, look it up. It's Filler, all caps, on Kickstarter. Now, I just want to say for people, they bought an ad in one of our videos. So I just would want you to know. You might think, well, of course you're saying it because they did an ad for one of your videos. But the funny thing is, I actually reached out to them. I saw the product. I thought this is a really brilliant idea because I don't know about you. I have a lot of those little tiny box card games that are like Gone Shun Clever, or sorry, That's So Clever, and some of those little small games are like No Thanks, and I don't really have a real convenient way to store them other than like some kind of like big bin I stuff them all in. Mm-hmm. This is like a narrow tray that's sort of perfectly sized to fit a whole bunch of them in there, and I just thought it was really nice organizationally. So I thought that was a really cool idea that someone had. I like when someone comes up with like here's something, a little niche need that some people in the hobby might enjoy. So I think someone's linked it. Yeah, thanks, Jess. Yeah, that's it right there. Now the last game I backed was actually a role-playing game, Knave RPG 2nd Edition. I didn't grow up playing a lot of role-playing games. I grew up in a family during the Satanic Panic was alive and well in my household, and so I wasn't allowed to play role-playing games, and I desperately wanted to. And I never really explored that area of the hobby, despite wanting to. And lately, a good buddy of mine, Jamie, I've mentioned him a couple times. Jamie from the Serial Ball Gaming Podcast, he loves role-playing games, and he invited me to play with him in an ongoing campaign of Old School Essentials, which is basically D&D from back in the day.
Nice.
And so I'm very, very keen to try that out. And Knave looked like a fun kind of old school throwback as well. So I backed that as well. And last but not least, because I'm looking for an actual board game to tell you about. I think it was Birds of a Feather, Western North America. Is that really the last Kickstarter? Maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that was it. Okay.
Very cool. All right. Now is our special segment that we call the Sir Phantom Lipton questionnaire. So we're bringing in Sir Phantom
This looks
Lipton. Very
formal. You think I'm not prepared, sir, but you're wrong.
I could appreciate when somebody is
I can't
prepared.
hear you because I've taken my headphones out, but this obviously is a very important and formal event that's about to happen. I wouldn't want you to think I'm unprepared.
I'll wait till Rodney gets his ear set back in.
Thank you so much for inviting me on to your show.
No, I gotta say you're the first that actually decided to dress for the occasion, so I can definitely appreciate that.
It called
and
for
with
it,
that,
obviously.
It totally did. So without any further ado, good morning, Rodney. Glad to have you aboard. So do you have any idea of what to expect?
I suspect and expect there's going to be some rapid questions thrown my way. And if you don't mind, for this segment, you can refer to me as Rodney J. Smith.
Rodney J. Smith. Okay, we'll make it super formal. Well, in that case, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Rodney J. Smith to the Sir Phantom Lipton questionnaire. Yes. We're just going to get right down to brass tacks. So without further ado, as James Lipton has done before me, as Bernard Pivot has done before him, I present to you the Sir Phantom Lipton questionnaire. Rodney, feel free to answer or not answer anything you wish. We're just going to have some fun. Are you ready, sir?
All right. I'm as ready as I can be. All right.
All right, here we go. What is your favorite board game?
Oh, this was interesting because just earlier, Dutch Yoda was saying, Kemet. Why did you mention Kemet? Because Kemet was my favorite board game. I've been thinking about this recently. I think I would have to say my favorite board game is Combat Commander Europe, because I have been playing it back to back games. I can't get enough of it. For anyone watching, it's not a game I'm necessarily going to recommend wholeheartedly. It's quite an involved game, but I have to say, as an experience, it has so much emergent narrative. It's such a clever design. I have thoroughly enjoyed it, and I would have to say it's my favorite board game right now. Yeah, Combat Commander Europe.
All right. What is your least favorite board game?
Oh, I don't like answering that question. You gave me the out. I could pass.
You can pass if you want to.
Here's what I'll say. Here's a quality of my least favorite board games. Bad rule books. I really find it disheartening when a game has great production, great components, and I can tell there's probably a really interesting design in there, but the rule book, which is often one of the least sexy parts, I'm sure, of the game production process, gets left or short shrift. And sure, listen. If all board game rule books were great, I'd probably be out of a job to some extent. So I probably shouldn't be advocating for great rule books. But I think for a lot of people, that's going to be their true first encounter of the hobby, right? They go into a hobby shop, they see a game with a cool cover, it looks really exciting, they flip it around, and then they get home with this game, they open it up. Listen, it doesn't matter how great those components are in there. They don't come to life until you know what they do. Otherwise, it's just a box of stuff. And the thing that turns that stuff into, a cool chainsaw that you're going to go like kill zombies with, or this cool piece of wood that you're going to fashion into your home in Euro game, is the rule book. And if you're reading that rule book and nothing makes sense to you, or things are contradicting them, or they're in a bad order, that could kill someone's entire enthusiasm for all the fun and joy that sits in this hobby, because they could look at it and go, well, this is too complicated, or am I just, maybe I'm not smart enough for board games. Could be a feeling you could say, or this isn't for me. There's so many things, I think that's just such a big potential barrier. So when I see a board game with a bad rule book, becomes my least favorite game. All right, that's my answer.
That's a fantastic answer. I'll take that. Okay. What board game makes you feel the most happy?
What game makes me feel? Board game makes me feel the most happy? Well, I guess I'm going to have to call back to a game I mentioned earlier, because I think the question was what games are taking my ideal game day? Time's Up Title Recall is a family favorite. Anytime we get together as a family, like when my kids now live outside the house, son's in university, my daughter's moved away. For those who've watched the channel for a while, they've grown up, they're adults now. But when we all get together, the game that always comes out is Time's Up Title Recall, because we've had so much fun. It's a game, if you haven't played it before, where you're trying to guess the word that's on a card, and either through clues or through charades. And we've just had so many great sessions and memorable times laughing together, laughing together over this game. So that fills me with joy just because of all the memories attached to it, I think. Yeah. So that'll be my answer for the one that makes me the most happy. Yeah.
All right. What board game makes you feel the most sad?
Sad. Oh, sad. Huh. I can't think of any games that I would say give me the emotion of sadness. I'm just looking at one on my shelf right now, actually, that maybe fits the bill. There's a game called Forbidden Stars that came out several years ago now. And I made the mistake, and this is my own fault, of being very excited about it and knowing I wanted to do a tutorial video for it, and announcing on my channel that I would do a tutorial video for it. And I had played the game at a convention, and I thought I knew what I was getting into. And then I got a copy of the game and realized, this is going to be very, very involved to do. It's a very complicated game. And I knew I didn't have time on my schedule to make it happen. It wasn't something I could just sort of wedge in. And so I had put up this announcement video saying I was going to do it. And then every month I would get, when are you doing that game? You said you're going to do the game. And it made me sad because I realized I'm never going to do this game. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to fit into my schedule. I couldn't make it work. And so I was sad at myself in a way. that I had put out there and sort of set people's expectations and failed to do it. I learned a very valuable lesson. I don't pre-announce games I'm going to cover now on the channel until I'm like at the scripting or shooting stage, and then I might pre-announce it, but otherwise I don't. So that one makes me sad a little bit. The game's great.
Okay. All right. What board game components do you love?
Ooh, board game components that I love. Oh man, there's so many. Like classic meeples and cubes and cards. Oh, I'm looking at my shelf again. I'm seeing. You has anyone here played? Anyone here played UgTech?
No.
Oh.
Okay. UgTech is a game where you are trying to communicate with your partner a structure that they have to build out of wooden blocks. Okay, so there's like a card that shows here's what you need to build. So here's something you need to build, and it's been a while since I played this. You have to communicate to them what they need to do with cave person talk, like a series of grunts. The different grunts and things mean something in terms of like placement of these objects. And when they do it wrong, there's an inflatable club that comes with the game. You blow it up. It's an inflatable, and you whack them on the head with it. And that is probably my favorite component. There's because there's two teams and you're both racing to like build this thing as a team. And that inflatable club is quite delightful. And the thing is, you whack them when they get it wrong. I think you also whack them when they get it right. So you're just given an excuse to whack the other person. Hopefully gently, but it's very fun. That's a fun component. Yes, Dutch was saying, just like Poetry for Neanderthals. I haven't played that, but I think it has a similar thing where it has like an inflatable club. So inflatable club's a lot of fun. Yeah, that's my favorite component. Yes, I'd say that.
That's a unique one. I like that answer. Okay, what board game components do you dislike?
Oh, that's easy. I know the exact answer to this. I don't like board game components where you have to assemble something out of cardboard, and let's say it like fits together nice and snug. It's like perfect. It's got perfect infrastructure to it, but it won't fit in the box assembled. So you have to then take it apart. Because with cardboard, it might fit snug together the first time, but the second time, third time, it starts to soften, and suddenly those pieces are now just all loose and they're not holding their shape or form anymore. I do not care for it. A great example of a game that does it well is Descent: Legends of the Dark. It comes with this giant oversized box, but the reason it comes with that giant oversized box is because it has 1,000 things for you to assemble in cardboard, and they all fit in after they're assembled. So kudos to Fantasy Flight Games for that production choice.
Nice.
No, that's a good one, and I've actually got opinions on that myself. We played Everdell for the first time, and it annoys me to no end that the tree does not fit in the box. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yep, that's an example. For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Great game, but that tree. Ugh.
That darn tree.
All right. What board game is so bad that its name should become a curse word?
Oh. Oh gosh, I don't know. I think I would have to pass on that.
Okay.
But I'll give you an answer. I'll tell you why I'm passing on it. I probably people probably know I don't review. I don't review in the tutorial videos. I have found as our team has kind of expanded, we do like games where we talk. Like we have a series called On the Radar. And on this series, we each talk about games we're excited about playing, we're interested in, right? But even in that, I'm talking about the game from a perspective of interest, as opposed to I've played this game and I like it or don't like it. I've always felt uncomfortable in that space because I know, like I said earlier on, when I was coming into the hobby, I loved listening to podcasts and videos and still do. I'm a big fan of board game media and the people who make it. And I'm so thankful that there's people who are comfortable in that review space. But I've always been wildly uncomfortable in it. Like whether I'm saying something positive or negative, it makes me a little uncomfortable. I'm a little more comfortable being positive, but like I know that there are games that I love that other people just don't like at all, and games that and the vice versa. You know what I mean? And I'm always a little bit nervous about steering someone away from a game because that could be their favorite game. Like if they played it, they might have a completely different experience of it, and I was steered them away from something that they would have really enjoyed. So I always get like a little nervous / uncomfortable was saying like, this game's bad, because I wouldn't want anyone to take my opinion and then run with it, because I don't know, I might be keeping them from playing a game that they would have really, really dug. So that's my reasoning there.
That's a fair answer. Yep.
Okay.
Completely fair answer.
Yeah.
All right. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
You know, I don't know about profession, maybe, but you know something I wish I could carve out time to do? I would really like, when I was really young, what I was thinking I would like to pursue would be being in acting shortly. Just think it short. Acting. I would have liked to have pursued it to some extent. I would like to be in a theater production, just like a local theater production is something I would like to do. So I know that's not the same as profession, but that's something I would enjoy doing, having a part in a play. And even if it was something very, very small, I think I'd like to be a part of that world again. I was in some plays when I was younger, and my life took me in a different direction. But yeah, I think that's something that I would enjoy. Yeah.
Okay. What profession would you not like to do?
What profession would I not like to do? Well, you know something, when I was in university, I was heading towards, I took business as a major, and actually accounting was going to be my major. And then I ducked out of it. And you know, my motivation for taking that as a career, taking those studies, is because I told myself that if I made enough money in my job, then I could have fun in the time that I wasn't working. Because I'd be financially stable, I'd have some money to be able to do the things that I really wanted to do. And what I started to realize was, oh wait, your job is your life. Like, it's a big chunk of your life is your job. So if you're not finding some fulfillment in what you're doing as a job, that could be very difficult and challenging, you know. And I think it is for a lot of people, you know, that the jobs maybe aren't bringing them the fulfillment that they're looking for, right? So I think anything where the pursuit of the job was purely the money of it, I think. This is a hard thing to say, because there's a lot of privilege in saying that, right? Because you need to survive, to eat, you have to put food on the table at some point, right? So that's just a critical aspect of life sometimes, is doing that. But I think I would want a job where that wasn't the only thing I had to pursue. I guess this is a dream scenario, right? So the things you wouldn't want to do if you could avoid it, and the things you could, right? So I don't know what that would probably be, being an accountant then. Let's just say that, because that was the job I was thinking I wanted, because I was thinking of it purely from a money aspect. And I think that would have been a mistake for me. Okay.
And finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Sorry about all that. I probably could have done that better, couldn't I have? I don't know. I suppose probably what I would want to hear is probably what a lot of people would want to hear is that for the perfections and imperfections in your life, there was some net positive you had in the lives of the people that you were around, I guess. Yeah, I think so, because obviously we all do things we regret, and we have aspirations to be a certain way, and we don't always live up to them. But I guess if I felt that there was, some positive net impact had been left on the lives of the people I was around, the way that I've been thankful that people have done for me, I guess that would be what I would hope. I don't know. It's a tough one.
All right. Well, Mr. Rodney J. Smith, I think you've completely nailed the questionnaire. Guys, gals, non-binary pals, that is the Sir Phantom Lipton questionnaire.
I know, we need kind of like an outro music now. We're done. Yay, Rodney, you survived.
I appreciate the commitment, Joe. I think the commitment to it is fantastic.
Oh, the first time we did it, it was such just an off the wall thing, and then I forget who suggested it, but somebody's like, "Hey, you need to like put on like a tie and a blazer and just completely be like just stone cold serious interviewer," and we've just ran with it, and everybody loves the segment, so it's fun to do. But I'll tell you what, You've either watched this show before, or the fact that you had a tie ready, like on demand. I tried to stay in character, but oh my god, I'm like, I can't laugh. But that was perfect, absolutely perfect.
Well, thank you. I wanted to do the segment justice. In preparation for this, I didn't like watch through like a whole episode, but I wanted to get a sense of. I will say, if anyone's in the board game media space or aspires to, I do think preparation is a good thing. Be a little prepared, right? So I wanted to take a look at some of the things you've done. So I didn't watch this segment because I didn't want to like be spoiled on the questions. You know what I mean? But I saw, he's coming a little bit prepared. I'm gonna surprise. Maybe put
that was perfect.
So perfect. I'm like, I can't break. But no, kudos. I enjoyed that.
It was fun. I enjoyed it too.
All right, we're going to be wrapping up here in just a couple minutes. But before we do, Rodney, we have a couple more questions before we send you off. Do you have a Grail game?
I would have said, just to repeat myself probably again, I would have said probably Ambush, because it was just such a game that was important to me. When I foolishly got rid of the copy I had, it was something I hoped to have, again, for sentimental reasons, and also the hope to revisit it. But I don't think I really have a Grail game, the traditional definition of it, that game that you've been trying to hunt for and find, that's difficult to find. I think no, I don't think I have one. Does anyone here on this panel have like a Grail game that they're
I do, and I already actually have it. It's the World of Warcraft board game with both expansions.
Yeah. I mean, that was a classic, right? That came out. It was really well liked, but then like went out of print, and it's an IP obviously that people have a lot of attachment to. I played World of Warcraft, and
same.
I still get like a little twitch when I think about it, because I quit that game so many times before I finally quit it, because I definitely addiction level play there,
Yeah, I don't know if I do, because I don't usually chalk up that much hype over a game per se.
Right.
I much rather enjoy the experiences that I have with people playing those games than I would have like trying to find that game. Also, I haven't been in the hobby very long either, so
right.
I don't think there's still a lot that I haven't explored yet either. So yeah,
I feel like we're sort of like blessed. There's just so many games coming out all the time. Like I remember when I first started watching play it, I would definitely get people asking, "Have you played this game or that game?" And I would say no. And that sometimes like, "You haven't played that game? How can you not have played that game?" I mean, there's like 3,000 games released a year. There's it's impossible to play all the games. And there's lots of like classics that you can just play everything coming out new. You'd never get around to the classics anymore. But as long as you're playing things that you're enjoying, there'll always be new and exciting games to try, for sure.
Yeah. Abby, do you have any final questions for Rodney?
I don't think so.
What about you, Joe?
Anna Maria put it in the chat, so I need to know as well. Race and class from your WoW days, Rodney.
Oh, I played. I think I had like, oh my god, I think I had a character in pretty much everything. I was saying about like being addicted to it. Like it got to a point where I just wanted to like level up everything. I'm a completionist. You ever play like Skyrim in those games? Like, I couldn't play the main quest because I needed to go pickpocket everybody. I needed to empty every drawer. I needed to like, it was
absolutely.
Obnoxious. I play those games in kind of an obnoxious way. The funny thing is, it's been so long since I played, and I played so many other games since then. I'm kind of forgetting what some of the classes are in that. Is there like a paladin class?
There is.
Yeah, because that would have been my main. I was a main paladin, and I think it was. Yeah, I think that's what I remember. I remember the paladin was my main class.
Yeah, well, what would you have been? You would have either been protection, retribution, or healing.
Retribution, I believe.
So DPS paladin. Nice.
Yeah, exactly. I think the other one that I played, like a second, would have been. Was it the thief class? Or
rogue.
Rogue. Sorry, rogue. That's it. Yeah. You can see how much of it's gone from my memory. right? Like I was so into like daily playing that game, and now it's been a long time. It's all kind of like a fuzzy blur. It feels like a lifetime ago. In fact, I don't know if you guys have experienced this or not, but like, if anything, I would say that if there's a downside to the hobby, is it has narrowed my focus so much. Like this is sort of what my life is now. Like I love what I do as a job and also like as a hobby, that everything else, it's almost to the exclusion of everything else. I almost have to like force myself to like, hey, let's do some magic tricks. Let's do some reading. Let's do something else that isn't board game because I'm so drawn to it. That's sort of like I've become absorbed by all of it.
Yeah.
Do you find that? Yeah. Do you find that your focus is narrowed because of
100%. Like I barely play video games anymore. Like I think the last week and a half has been the most video games I've played in a while because Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. That's right. That's the hype right now, and I'm really enjoying it. But like I would love to get back into like WoW or even Final Fantasy 14, another MMO that I played. But I sometimes miss my WoW days. I was a troll protection warrior because I love playing a tank, and I also had a troll shadow priest because shadow priests are the best. Yes, the last time I played, I think the last time I played is just before I quit cold turkey in 2013 when Mists of Pandaria came out. That expansion came out.
It's been a bit.
It's been a minute. and Silver Medal, Advanced Wars as well. That's been another one I played a lot of. So thankfully I fit some time in, but I agree with you. Just the content creation space and even board gaming in and of itself kind of just you want to keep your finger on the pulse. So I find definitely do that more.
It's what I have the most fun doing. I just still like breaking in a board game, learning a new game. I love reading rules. Like it's always been something I enjoy. I love, like I was saying earlier, I love watching everything inside that box come to life, seeing how the designers creatively, put the mechanics together, or how the artists and the graphic designers. I mean, there's so many talented people that are involved in the creation process, including the rule book and how they choose to teach it and communicate that. I'm fascinated by all that stuff. Yeah.
All right, final question from the chat. James Raziel asks, what is your favorite solo game, Rodney?
I mean, probably I would probably have to say Mansions of Madness. I don't play it solo that often, but I have played it solo. That, or maybe Arkham Horror, the card game. Gosh, it's probably one of those two. I played a fantastic solo game recently that I really enjoyed called Resist.
Okay.
If anyone's heard of that, and it's excellent. That's by David Thompson. It's from 25th Century. So if anyone's curious about checking out a newer solo game, I'd recommend that one. That was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed, Matt. He says, sounds like there needs to be a Mansion stream soon.
I think so.
Yeah.
We might have to talk because that sounds like fun.
I think that's the one that works really well too, streaming, because again, it's got a story element, there's characters, there's drama. Yeah, that'd be a fun game to watch, I think. You guys should totally do it.
Oh, man. Well, this has been fantastic, Rodney. Once again, where can folks find you online, and what do you have coming up from the Watch It Played crew?
Thank you. Well, people can find Watch It Played online at Watch It Played on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, and all the usual places. And then the YouTube channel is youtube.com/watchitplayed. And things we have upcoming. Well, tomorrow we have, tomorrow a tutorial video for Books of Time is releasing. It's a very unique game. It actually has multiple little books that you're buying cards and sliding them into this bindered book from Board and Dice. So that one might be of interest to people. And we've got in early June on the, I want to say 10th and 11th, if my memory isn't failing me, we're doing a live stream here from Watch It Played studio in Prince Edward Island, where I live. The whole team's coming here. We're going to do 2 days of a gaming marathon, all party games, and would invite people to check that. It'll be streamed both on YouTube and Twitch. We have regular Twitch streams on Thursday, and oftentimes our other content releases on Mondays and Fridays. News is every other Friday, and we usually have another video that drops Monday. So lots of stuff. If people are curious with what's coming on Watch It Played, you can go to watchitplayed.tv.
Awesome. And thank you so much for the raid, Flynn Solo. Good to see you, my friend. I hope you're having a fantastic Monday evening. If we could give a shout out to Flynn Solo, he is a fantastic streamer, often playing some video games. He has done...
Speaking of solo play.
Yeah. He's a wonderful friend over in the UK. So thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate that so much. We are wrapping up here shortly, but you caught us just in time to send you over on another raid. So yeah. Let's see. Oh, and Joe and Abby, what do you have coming up this week for streams?
Oh, I haven't even planned what I'm doing this week because of the holiday weekend. That's an excellent question. I'll definitely.
You're on a holiday this weekend, aren't you? I'm
it's Memorial Day today, so I'm totally behind the power curve. But our streams are Tuesdays and Fridays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific. I'll figure out something. Just stay tuned to the socials. I'll put my schedule out. But I'm totally behind the power curve. I haven't even thought about content for this week.
Yeah. Well, then I got you covered, Joe, because I'm going to be streaming all 5 days this week.
Oh,
so
geez.
crazy. Yeah, so tomorrow morning you can catch me at 9:30 a.m. over on the Room 51 channel where Matthew and I do a Just Chatting stream, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. And then Wednesday, I will be here playing some Board Game Arena games with the chat Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific. Thursday morning, I'm hoping to be over on the Book of Nerds channel guesting for some miniature painting stream at 10 a.m. And then Friday morning at 10 a.m. here on my channel, I'm going to invite Dutch Yoda over for some Turing Machine. So that will be, but there are 7 days in the week, Dutch. I know. I'm talking about the non-weekend days.
The school day weeks.
Yeah, the school day weeks. Yeah. So yes, again though, you can catch all the schedule and whatnot happening at my socials at @just_CCG. Yes. Oh my gosh, so many wonderful friends.
I'm very glad to have been a part of your week. I'm glad to have been a part of your week of streaming.
Me too, Rodney. It has been fantastic. Thank you again.
This has been amazing.
For being just your awesome self. We were going to all wear flannel in solidarity, but Joe does not own any flannel. So
I have 5 or 6 flannels
will I ever.
Totally could have borrowed and just put over his shoulder,
Drape.
No, I've got feelings about flannel.
He does. Fair enough. I love flannel. I got 8 or 9 different ones at least.
Yeah.
And then there's Joe.
Yeah, no, see here's the thing, and I already told Jess and Abby this story. So growing up, all my father wore was flannel. Nothing but. The only time I ever saw him in not flannel was, something formal where he put on a suit or something. So growing up, for the first 17 years of my life, seeing nothing but flannel, I'm like, nope, don't want to be my father. So I am so apprehensive to it. If flannel's your thing, by all means, but I refuse.
Dutch Yoda says, but Joe, what about a t-shirt with flannel print?
No.
Nope.
No.
You won't do any of it.
No, zero flannel.
I've tried.
I've tried. And Rodney, do you actually own a blue flannel shirt?
Oh yeah, 2 or 3, I think. Yeah.
Because I'm surprised you don't wear it more often since blue's your favorite player color.
You're right. My blue tends to run to games, not necessarily in everything else.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That makes sense.
Totally makes sense. Yeah, Anna Maria says, Joe, how do you not own a flannel shirt by living in the Pacific Northwest?
Because I have a beard. That's my contribution to the Pacific Northwest.
He's compensating with the facial hair.
Between the two of us, we're a lumberjack. It's fine.
Exactly. I've got Abby to cover the flannel for me. I don't need it.
Oh, Jen asked Joe, what if it's a flannel signed by Rodney?
I will frame it. I will not wear it.
Right. Just hang it somewhere. You have to wear it.
It's not going to get worn. Some people say that everybody has their price. As far as flannel goes, no, you could offer me unlimited money for the rest of my days, and I wouldn't have to work another day in my life. Won't wear flannel. Never going to happen.
I love it.
Not to prolong this, but what about a flannel blanket?
No.
Okay. Don't want to be in contact.
I want nothing to do with flannel at all.
He'll break out in hives, Rodney.
I am that apprehensive to it.
He'll start getting itchy.
Yep. Yeah. Actually, I have a blanket made of flannel shirts, and he will use any other blanket in this house except so that is now my special blanket. I have a whole handful of them, and he just like glares at them, like he won't touch them. I'm like, hey, have you seen this flannel? And he's like, nope. And I'm like, can you help? And he goes, nope. And I'm like, that's fine. I just lost it.
I guess that's just my one weird thing. Yeah, it's flannel. Just no.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've been incredibly gracious to have me on. Given the flannel,
with this flannel aversion.
Yes.
No, it's like I said, I don't care if people wear it and enjoy it. It's just a personal thing for me. I can't do it.
I get that, Joe. You know, it's funny. Like there are certain things I like and don't like. I don't care if somebody else is in it. Like it doesn't bother me. It's just like this is not me. That's not me. I can't do that thing. But it's cool if somebody else does. I don't think twice about it. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Oh my gosh, the chat is blowing up. Will you hug someone in flannel?
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
JJ, I will hug somebody in flannel. I'm not that apprehensive to it that I'm not going to touch somebody.
It's underwear, Joe.
Oh, for heaven's sakes! What? This is starting to get on the levels of Buttergate. Like this is ridiculous. I just opened up a can of worms. Okay, Buttergate. So last month for Tabletop Live Network, and I was with Amanda Panda, and I was visiting her, and John Book of Nerds is with us.
Right.
And we were playing Tidal Blades Banner Festival, and I was wearing a Weird Al t-shirt, and I told the story of how a friend of mine who owns an arcade in downtown Tacoma sponsored a Weird Al concert like 10 years ago, and when she met him, he gave her a stick of butter out of his pocket. And she still has this stick of butter in her freezer. It's 10 years old. Like, she won't get rid of it. And, you know, I asked her one day.
We check on it every time.
Yeah, it's like, you still have the butter? And, she's got it. And then just the butter puns, the butter jokes, just the entire stream.
I mean, that's valuable real estate in your freezer.
Exactly.
Going nowhere. Okay.
So now I've got this flannel controversy. It's getting to those levels. It's great.
Well, there's no controversy here. You've made it clear. I see people going like socks, underwear. No, I'm assuming it's got to be no, because if you won't even put a blanket on, you're not going to put socks or like it's no. I think
zero flannel.
I appreciate the hug question because that's thinking about it differently. That was a good one. Yeah. And clearly you're open to hugs. It's just you don't want to be draped in it yourself.
Yeah.
So Rodney, when you go to hug Joe, don't like open up your shirt and like cover his shoulder with it.
No, I'll be very respectful. This is clearly runs deep. I get it.
It really does.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, friends, we're gonna send you over to the wonderful Panic Games. He's currently playing Flamecraft right now. And Reggie, hello, welcome in Rodney the Goat, the greatest of all time, he says.
Hey, it's Roland Reggie. Everyone should check out Reggie too. Reggie's got a fantastic
Reggie's
YouTube
awesome.
channel. His most recent video was, I believe it's on Gateway Games, and there was some great recommendations in there.
Yeah. Rodney, Reggie is a wonderful person that we recently met here in the Northwest. At a local convention called OrcaCon, and it was a really good time to play games with him and things like that. So, yeah.
Well, I hope we all get to meet up at some point and play some games again in the future.
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
Agreed. All right, friends, if you have the raid emotes, if you're a subscriber to the channel, please make sure you are using those emotes in the chat. If not, you could just use some regular base emotes and some love and all of that fun stuff. Some basic ones. It's fine. And until next time, friends, stay safe, enjoy your board games, be kind to one another, and we'll catch y'all on the next stream. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
All right.